Sima Ming stood rooted to the spot, the smile on his face finally fading away. His gaze lingered on Chu Yun for a full 3 seconds. Deep within his pupils, shock and suspicion flickered back and forth. A Holy Spirit thought, Master. Million-fold mental power. This mental pressure was genuine, no counterfeit about it. Unless, this 18-year-old youth was also a Holy Spirit thought master. Yet the moment this thought surfaced, Sima Ming crushed it himself. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. To comprehend the true martial intent of Qin Zhan at 18 already made him a monster among monsters. If he were also a Holy Spirit thought master, not even dreams would dare conjure such a thing. Therefore, the person standing before him was Bone Spirit. Bone Spirit had succeeded in body, snatching, and now stood here wearing Chu Yun's skin. Sima Ming drew a deep breath and took a step forward. The martial, emperor, grade pressure of vital energy burst forth with a thunderous roar. Dark red surges of energy exploded out from within him, shattering Chu Yun's mental pressure. Dozens of cult followers were granted reprieve, gasping for breath in great gulps. Some leaned on their knees, unable to stand, while others remained kneeling where they were, their faces etched with terror of having narrowly escaped death. Friend Bone Spirit, calm your anger. Sima Ming's tone carried a touch more deference than before. This is all in accordance with the demands of Martial Emperor Mo Yuan. This subordinate merely carries out orders, and dares not show the slightest negligence. I beg you to understand, friend. Mo Yuan. Chu Yun had seen this name countless times in Bone Spirit's fragments of memory. Bone Spirit knelt in unwavering devotion every single day precisely for this demonic martial emperor. A survivor of the great battle at the northern border Great Wall. A ferocious abyss fiend who had survived even after Qin Zhan's sword shattered his demon core. The mastermind who had ordered the body, snatching upon Chu Yun. Do not think I will submit just because you invoke a martial emperor. Besides, with your meager abilities, could you possibly conduct a proper soul search? Clearly, none present possessed the cultivation of a Holy Spirit thought master. Attempting a soul search was nothing short of a farce. From his storage ring, Sima Ming retrieved a fist-sized crystal ball and held it in his palm. The crystal ball was completely transparent, with black mist swirling slowly inside. How would we dare truly search your soul, friend? You need only channel a wisp of your divine sense into this crystal ball to verify your identity. Please. Chu Yun stared at the crystal ball. He recognized this object from Bone Spirit's memories as well. A soul-marked crystal. Every demonic assassin departing the abyss for long-term missions left a strand of their soul mark within the mother crystal. It allowed the demon race to verify their identity and status at any time. Should an assassin perish, their mark within the mother crystal would dissipate. In theory, Chu Yun needed only to peel away a sliver of Bone Spirit's residual soul and inject it into the crystal ball. The mother crystal would resonate with this secondary crystal, proving he was Bone Spirit. Still, Chu Yun made no move. He spoke slowly. Why should I cooperate with you? Sima Ming's smile stiffened slightly. This is Martial Emperor Mo Yuan's. Cease invoking the Martial Emperor to pressure me. Chu Yun cut him off, his tone carrying Bone Spirit's characteristic disdain. If Martial Emperor Mo Yuan wishes to confirm my identity, he will send his own men. Since when has your cult of the Holy Mother taken it upon itself to act on his behalf? Are you using the Martial Emperor's name to test my limits? A glint of malice flashed deep in Sima Ming's eyes, and his fists clenched tight. This young demon was far too arrogant. If not for Martial Emperor Mo Yuan's personal order, he would never have treated a reborn body, snatching assassin with such courtesy. Though he was 100% convinced in his heart that this man was Bone Spirit, the required procedures still had to be followed. Should anything go wrong, he could not bear the blame. Everything I do is to ensure absolute safety. After all, this concerns whether Martial Emperor Mo Yuan can launch a counteroffensive against the northern border Great Wall. If friend Bone Spirit's identity is exposed, the cult of the Holy Mother will not escape retribution either. Therefore, I beg you to cooperate. Chu Yun judged that he had played his part well enough. He had amply displayed the haughty arrogance proper to Bone Spirit. To continue performing would only arouse Sima Ming's suspicion. Remember this. Cooperating with us demons is an honor for your cult of the Holy Mother. Chu Yun stepped forward and placed his right hand upon the crystal ball. He sent forth a strand of mental power, probing into Bone Spirit's residual soul, and stripped away a trace of it. A wisp of the purest soul aura. Then he injected it into the crystal ball. The crystal ball lit up. Black mist swirled across its surface, forming complex runic patterns. At the pattern's center emerged a blurry phantom. A face. Bone Spirit's face. Sima Ming's pupils contracted violently. He stared fixedly at the face within the crystal ball. His long, tensed hands slowly unclenched. A wave of immense relief washed over him. A fawning smile returned to his features. Friend Bone Spirit, please pardon our earlier discourtesy. The cult followers on their knees lifted their heads one by one, gazing at the glowing crystal ball. Hostility did not wane. If anything, it intensified. Several among them even felt a flicker of regret. If this man had not been Bone Spirit, their leader could have killed him righteously and restored their lost dignity. Chu Yun withdrew his right hand with an impassive expression. Now may we discuss real business? Sima Ming put away the crystal ball. He then produced another object, a pitch black diamond Vajra pestle. The moment Chu Yun's eyes fell upon it, his pupils shrank sharply. His thought, honor, ranked mental power, sensed some forbidden power emanating from the Vajra pestle. He had felt this aura before. It had emanated from the sealed abyss rift 20,000 years old in Lu Fengxian's valley. Sima Ming spoke in a calm tone. Open the abyss rift. Use this Vajra pestle. Chu Yun's gaze sharpened, a faint cold glint flashing deep in his eyes. Open an abyss rift? Do you realize who I am now? I am the top student of Kyoto Martial University, watched closely by the entire Dragon Kingdom's martial arts circle. You would have me open an abyss rift? Do you wish for me to be exposed all the sooner? Friend Bone Spirit, these are all Martial Emperor Mo Yuan's instructions. I am merely tasked with relaying them. Sima Ming showed no anger, twirling the Vajra pestle in his hand. As for the reason, I suspect it is mostly because Yao Zheng has deployed every available troop from Kyoto Martial University and its surrounding regions to the northern border Great Wall. Kyoto's defenses lie thin at this very moment, our perfect opportunity. If we can open yet another abyss rift, we can threaten Kyoto directly from the rear. Then Yao Zheng will be trapped between two foes, and the northern border Great Wall will fall without a fight. The heart of the Dragon Kingdom will be laid bare before us. Sima Ming's tone grew increasingly impassioned, as though describing events that had already come to pass. Chu Yun's expression remained unchanged. He had long since guessed this much. Ever since the night Bone Spirit had attempted to seize his body, he had surmised the demon race's plan was far more than mere body snatching. Body snatching was but the first step. This was their true killing stroke. Still, to his knowledge, there existed no other abyss rift near Kyoto besides the one at the northern border Great Wall. Apart from the northern border Great Wall, there are no other abyss rifts near Kyoto. Where would this rift you speak of even come from? For more than 200 years since the founding of the Dragon Kingdom, abyss secret realms have been sealed one after another and repurposed as resource-gathering sites. Yet sealing is not equivalent to complete closure. Some passageways within these abyss secret realms have merely been hidden away. Of course, the vast majority are only Martial King-grade passageways. Even if opened, they would barely affect the war effort. Sima Ming fixed his burning gaze upon Chu Yun. But the one you are tasked with opening is a Martial Emperor-grade passageway. Simply drive this Vajra pestle into the core energy node of the secret realm, and the abyss passageway will reopen. Chu Yun's pupils narrowed slightly. If such a place truly exists, humanity would surely station heavy forces to guard it. Precisely. Sima Ming smiled. These secret realms are indeed top secret knowledge of humanity. Each entrance is garrisoned by Martial Emperor-ranked powerhouses. Ordinary people cannot draw near, let alone enter. Yet at 12 o'clock tonight, someone will meet you. Understanding dawned on Chu Yun. There was a traitor among humankind, and this traitor held considerable status. To have access to such core secrets, they must at minimum be a high-ranking official of the Martial Management Bureau or a core figure from one of the great noble houses. Where? Yinqing's secret realm, southern suburbs of Kyoto. Sima Ming held out the Vajra pestle. The instant Chu Yun's fingertips brushed against it, foul abyss demonic chi spread upward along his palm. Simply holding the object stirred forth dread and tremors, sending a chill down one's spine. Yet this aura was swiftly suppressed by his mental power. Maintaining a composed demeanor, Chu Yun casually stored the Vajra pestle within his system space. Is the intelligence reliable? Sima Ming nodded. The information was provided by the Wang clan. The Wang clan. Chu Yun's voice deepened. Which Wang clan? Naturally the Wang clan, one of the 4 great clans. A meaningful smile played across Sima Ming's face. The Zhongzhou Wang clan, a 300-year-old house with a martial emperor at its helm and profound foundations. Yet even profound foundations cannot defy the limits of mortal lifespan. The old ancestor of the Wang clan's vital energy is drying up, and his years draw to an end. To prolong his life, he is willing to sell anything. Great shock roiled within Chu Yun's heart. The Wang clan. Again the Wang clan. Ever since the Songhai secret realm, the Wang clan had hounded him like a venomous serpent that would not let go. Wang Zikai had sought to kill him. He Chong had sought to cripple him. And now the entire Wang clan had outright defected to the demon race. A peak, stage martial emperor old ancestor would sell out the entire dragon kingdom merely to cling to a few extra years of life. He had thought his grievances with the Wang clan ended with the feud over a slain son. It turned out there was far more. This was not merely a private grudge. It was a grievance of the nation. Having slain Wang Zikai, he and the Wang clan were already irreconcilable foes. Now the Wang clan stood opposed to the Dragon Kingdom. Old and new wrongs piled one upon another. The time had come to settle this score. Seeing him fall silent, Sima Ming called out, "Friend Bone Spirit?" Chu Yin snapped back to attention, his expression turning cold once more. "Is there anything else?" "These are the only instructions given by Martial Emperor Mo Yuan." Sima Ming transmitted all data regarding the secret realm remotely via cell phone. "Once you complete your mission, others will make contact with you." Chu Yin received the information, nodded, and said no more. He turned and headed for the exit. As he walked past the cult followers, he did not so much as lift an eyelid. Instinctively they parted to make way for him, none daring to meet his eyes. They still bore fresh memory of the terror of his earlier glance. The elevator door slid shut. Sima Ming stood at the window, watching Chu Yun's figure cross the plaza, board a ride, hailing vehicle, and merge into the stream of traffic. He only tore his gaze away once the car vanished completely from sight. A male cult follower stepped forward, his tone tinged with resentment. "Leader, are we truly just handing him the artifact? The demons once promised us that once the spatial rift was opened, the Holy Mother would descend. Yet nothing of the sort has come to pass." Sima Ming glanced over at him and smiled. "You believe the words of demons? In this world, trust is a thing that never truly exists. The demons make use of us, and we make use of them. Each pursues their own gain. Still, on one count they spoke true. Ever since the northern border abyss rift opened, I have been able to faintly sense." He paused, lowering his voice, as if fearful of disturbing something. "The Holy Mother's location." The male cult follower's pupils constricted violently. "Leader, you mean?" Sima Ming pulled aside a curtain beside him, revealing a massive portrait. A portrait of the Holy Mother. Her features looked compassionate and serene, wreathed in faint halos of light. Her eyes and brows bore more than a passing resemblance to Lu Fengxian. Had Chu Yun been present, he would have recognized her at once. "The more abyss rifts we open, the clearer my senses grow. Open just one more, and the Holy Mother might descend among us." His voice echoed through the chamber, trembling with the fervor of a true believer. The male cult follower's Adam's apple bobbed, and then he dropped to his knees. "Praise the Holy Mother." His voice was forced out from his throat, shaking. Then a second cult follower knelt. A third. A fourth. In less than a second, every cult follower in the room was prostrate upon the ground. Some pressed their hands together. Some lay flat and kowtow, tears streaming down the faces of others. "Praise the Holy Mother. Praise the Holy Mother. Praise the Holy Mother." 23:55 at night. 10 kilometers outside the entrance to the Yinqing secret realm stood an abandoned lumber mill. Chu Yin stood in the shadow of a 3-story, tall boulder, hands tucked into his trouser pockets. His mental power spread forth soundlessly, covering a radius of 5 kilometers. He touched the new armor upon his body. High, Great Emperor, rank equipment, the Qilin armor. He had purchased it that afternoon from the Dragon Kingdom Martial Arsenal, expending a full 190,000 merit points. He had spared no cost to eliminate the scourge of the Wang clan. Chu Yin weighed matters in his mind. Thought, honor and martial, honor cultivation, and the heavenly sword talisman given to him by Yao Zheng. As long as no martial emperor showed up, he was confident of escaping with his life. Even if someone opened a martial emperor great abyss passageway. Images of Lu Fengxian sealing an abyss rift flashed through his mind. If a thought, sage could accomplish such a feat, perhaps a thought, honor, can replicate 70 to 80% of it. Using mental power to forge an independent space and seal the passageway within it. I shall find out by trying. Chu Yin pushed aside his thoughts and glanced down at his cell phone. 23:58, 2 minutes remaining. Suddenly, 2 presences intruded upon his senses. One bore vital energy of just over 9,000, peak Great Martial Master. The other held 4,800,000 units of vital energy, peak Martial King. Chu Yun's pupils contracted sharply as he quietly suppressed his aura. Two figures emerged from the rock piles to the east of the lumber mill. Walking in front was a woman clad in red robes. Close behind her followed a middle-aged man dressed in black. A sliver of moonlight broke through gaps in the cloud cover, falling directly upon the face of the figure in front. Chu Yun's mind exploded in that instant. Zhao Yueli? Chu Yun's mind exploded in that instant. Zhao Yueli? What was she doing here? Was the Zhao clan mixed up in this as well? Of the four great clans, the Wang and Zhao clans had betrayed the Dragon Kingdom, while the Li clan conducted research on fusing monster beast genes. 3 out of 4 had gone corrupt. It was nothing short of madness. He could only hope the Liu clan would not collapse into ruin too. Uncle Kai, are you certain this is the place? Zhao Yueli kept her voice low, her gaze sweeping across the desolate rock-strewn terrain. Uncle Kai glanced down at the locator on his wrist and spoke with certainty. Yes, this is exactly the location given in the intelligence. The margin of error is no more than 10 meters. A cold glint flashed in Chu Yun's eyes. Had they also obtained the intelligence? Had the Wang clan sold the information not only to the demons, but also to the Zhao clan? That hardly made sense. Judging from Zhao Yueli's attitude toward Wang Zikai, though both belonged to the four great clans, relations between them were poor. He tamped down his astonishment and continued observing in secret. Midnight struck. 50 meters ahead, the air twisted violently. A circular teleportation gate, 3 meters in diameter, materialized out of thin air. Let us go. Without hesitation, Zhao Yueli stepped through. Uncle Kai followed close behind, and both figures vanished within the light curtain. Chu Yun waited another 30 seconds to confirm no one else drew near within 5 kilometers. Only then did he step out from the boulder's shadow and pass through the teleportation gate. The moment he crossed through, scorching waves of heat washed over him. The scene before him bore no resemblance to the dark night outside. The sky glowed dark red like a sheet of red, hot iron. Low, hanging roiling clouds swirled with gray, black smoke and dust. It was a world ravaged by fire. Distant mountain ridges loomed indistinct, their outlines warped into undulating shapes by waves of heat. Chu Yun's thought, honor perception spread silently outward across a 5-kilometer radius. No monster beasts, no living creatures, no anomalous spiritual energy fluctuations whatsoever. Just as Sima Ming had stated, this secret realm had been fully conquered, every native monster beast wiped out. He quickly locked onto the auras of Zhao Yueli and Uncle Kai. The pair were making their way along a winding gravel road deep into the secret realm. Chu Yun set off after them at an unhurried pace. He kept roughly 800 meters of distance between himself and Zhao Yueli. At this range, he could avoid detection by their senses, yet still intervene promptly should anything go wrong. His thought, honor, grade mental power formed a field around his body. All fluctuations of vital energy and the sound of his footsteps were concealed. Chu Yun tailed the two for roughly 30 minutes as they traversed the secret realm. Abruptly, Uncle Kai halted and raised one hand, signaling Zhao Yueli to stop. A figure stepped out from around a canyon bend. The person wore a loose black cloak, its hood pulled low to conceal most of their face. Most striking were their hands. All 10 fingernails were jet black, long and sharp, like tiny daggers. Faint black mist drifted along the cloak's edges. The hooded figure spoke. You are 3 minutes later than I anticipated. Uncle Kai sprang in front of Zhao Yueli, unleashing the full vital energy pressure of a peak martial king. Who are you? The hooded figure pushed back their hood to reveal a sinister smile. Naturally, the one who has come for your lives. Zhao Yueli's pupils shrank violently. She recognized that face. At the Dragon Kingdom martial arts competition 5 years prior, this man had appeared as a guest retainer of the Wang clan. He possessed immense vital energy and peerless martial skill, earning praise from the elders present as a rare martial prodigy born once in 100 years. Wang Chongyuan, the foremost genius of a Wang clan branch household. Already a peak martial king 5 years ago. Now he was a martial honor. You are Wang Chongyuan. Zhao Yueli's voice grew taut. You have sided with the demon race. Wang Chongyuan's mouth stretched into an eerie grin. Sided with them? Miss Zhao, your words missed the mark. He took one step forward. The rock beneath his feet cracked open, black demonic chi seeping out through the fissures. I, Wang Chongyuan, serve only the strong. Humanity is feeble. The abyss represents the future. Before his voice faded, his figure vanished from where he stood. Uncle Kai reacted with remarkable speed. He pushed his peak martial, king vital energy to its absolute limit. His right fist, surging with immense vital energy power, smashed toward empty space ahead. Boom. Fist. Force exploded, sending rock fragments flying. Yet Wang Chongyuan was not there. Somehow he had already circled to Uncle Kai's left flank. Fingers curved into claws. His black sharp nails, like 5 poison-dipped daggers, stabbed straight for Uncle Kai's ribs. Driven by pure combat instinct, Uncle Kai twisted his body barely enough to avoid vital organs. Still, those 5 nails tore through his protective energy barrier, carving 5 deep bone, exposing gashes across his left arm. Blood gushed forth, and the edges of the wounds turned an eerie black. "Uncle Kai!" Zhao Yuli cried out in alarm. "Miss Fli, this is a trap." Gritting his teeth through the pain in his left arm, Uncle Kai stamped hard with his right foot. His body shot forward like a cannonball toward Wang Chongyuan. A storm of fists rained down, each strike carrying the terrifying power of a martial king. Shadows of fists filled the air, sealing off every possible evasive route for Wang Chongyuan. Wang Chongyuan merely let out a faint laugh. He lifted his right hand, fingers spread wide. A pitch, black demonic chi vortex coalesced in his palm. "Peak Martial King, 5 years ago I might have spared you a glance. But now," his fingers clenched tight. Boom. The demonic chi vortex expanded in an instant, transforming into a black shockwave that swallowed every one of Uncle Kai's countless fist strikes. Uncle Kai let out a muffled groan. His body flew backward like a kite with its string cut. He crashed heavily into the canyon cliff face, punching a half-meter, deep human-shaped indentation into the rock. Stones and gravel showered down. He struggled to rise, his inner armor shattered. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. Merely 3 exchanges of blows. Uncle Kai, at the peak of the martial king realm, was heavily injured. Wang Chongyuan shook his wrist, glanced down at his right hand, and wore a satisfied smile. A martial venerable against a martial king. It truly is total suppression. "Eldest Miss Zhao, your guard isn't quite up to the mark." Zhao Yuli's face was as pale as paper. She knew there was a gap between a martial king and a martial venerable, but she never imagined it would be this vast. 3 moves. Uncle Kai had served her for 15 years, working for the Zhao family since she was 3 years old, utterly loyal and never slacking off. In her heart, Uncle Kai was a powerhouse second only to her father. Yet now, this powerhouse didn't even have the strength to fight back before Wang Chongyuan. "Miss Run." Uncle Kai gritted his teeth, propping himself up against the rock wall to stand, blocking Zhao Yuli's path. "Uncle Kai, go." Uncle Kai's voice was hoarse, filled with mortal resolve. Wang Chongyuan sneered. "Neither of you is getting away." He moved again. This time, his target was Zhao Yuli. His fingers curved into a claw, aiming straight for her throat. Uncle Kai bit his tongue, forcibly driving what little vitality he had left, struck Zhao Yuli with a palm to push her 10 meters away. Then, he threw his entire body at Wang Chongyuan. Courting death, Wang Chongyuan snorted coldly, shifting from claw to fist, and struck Uncle Kai in the back with a punch. Crack! A crisp sound of bone fracturing echoed through the canyon. Uncle Kai's back caved in, and he coughed up a huge mouthful of blood mixed with dark red visceral fragments. "Uncle Kai!" Zhao Yuli's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. Looking at Uncle Kai lying on the ground, clinging to his last breath, a surge of unprecedented fear and rage welled up in her heart simultaneously. Wang Chongyuan walked toward Uncle Kai, looking down at him imperiously. "A peak martial king holding out for 5 moves before me is not bad. However, this is where it ends." He raised his right foot, aiming at Uncle Kai's head, preparing to stomp down. At that exact moment, Zhao Yuli flipped her right hand, and a dark golden talisman materialized in her palm out of nowhere. The talisman flowed with golden radiance, its surface etched with dense, intricate patterns, exuding a piercing aura that sent chills down the spine. "Divine Sword Talisman." Zhao Yuli hurled the talisman forward violently. The talisman detonated in midair, transforming into a 10-meter-long golden greatsword, its blade surging with the terrifying sword intent of the martial emperor realm. "What?" Wang Chongyuan's pupils contracted abruptly. Wang Chongyuan spread his hands forward as black demonic energy coalesced frenziedly around his body. It formed a ring of jet black shielding. The greatsword slashed down. Boom! The golden sword light clashed with the black demonic energy, bursting open a visible shockwave. Wang Chongyuan's shield lasted less than half a second before shattering like glass. The golden sword light sliced through his body without hindrance. Debris flew everywhere, and dust filled the sky. Wang Chongyuan's body was sliced diagonally from his right shoulder to his left waist. Blood sprayed wildly, the dark red blood mixed with bizarre black fluid. His lower body remained standing in place, while his upper body slammed heavily to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Zhao Yuli panted heavily, staring fixedly at Wang Chongyuan's corpse. No movement. Is he dead? Her heart hammered wildly in her chest, her fingertips still trembling slightly. This was the life-saving trump card left to her by her father. The entire Zhao family had only 3 of them. She had always been reluctant to use it, because once used, it was gone for good. But now it was worth it. Stumbling, she ran toward Uncle Kai, who was lying in a pool of blood. Uncle Kai, hold on. Uncle Kai's face was as pale as paper, the front of his robes soaked through with blood. As long as Miss is safe, I'll take you out of here right now. I'll take you back to treat your wounds. Zhao Yuli's eyes were red as she reached out to support Uncle Kai. At the same time, an eerie rustling sound came from behind. Zhao Yuli's body stiffened abruptly. She immediately turned back, and the scene before her instantly made her hairs stand on end. At the severed edges of Wang Chongyuan's bifurcated body, countless black tendrils squirmed frenziedly, weaving and wrapping around each other in midair. In just 3 seconds, the 2 severed segments of his body rapidly knitted together at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although his aura was slightly weaker than before, Wang Chongyuan's body had indeed recovered. No, impossible. Zhao Yuli's voice trembled. How could a martial emperor, grade divine sword talisman fail to kill a mere martial venerable? Gritting her teeth, she tried to lift Uncle Kai. Miss, hurry go. Uncle Kai's voice was hoarse. He is no longer human. The divine sword talisman. Wang Chongyuan lifted his head, a sinister arc splitting across his pale face. I didn't expect you to have such a trump card. I almost perished right here, thanks to the Abyss's blessing granting me an immortal body. Otherwise, a little girl like you really would have turned the tables. Zhao Yuli's lips trembled, her voice choked with tears. Uncle Kai, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Miss, hurry run. Uncle Kai used the last ounce of his strength to push Zhao Yuli's hand away. What a touching scene of loyalty between master and servant. I almost shed a tear. Wang Chongyuan raised his hand, looking at Uncle Kai's remaining blood on his nails. A cruel expression surfaced on his face. Don't worry, you two will soon be reunited down below. Though before that, he paused, his gaze sweeping menacingly over Zhao Yuli. The corners of his mouth curled wider and wider. Let me thoroughly destroy you. Zhao Yuli's pupils shrank violently. Her body began retreating uncontrollably, step by step, staggering backwards. Stay back. Jiji, Wang Chongyuan laughed wildly. The more fearful and despairing the prey, the more excited and manic he became. His right hand slowly lifted, fingers spread wide as pitch, black demonic energy danced on his fingertips. Pushing off the ground, his claw blades tore through the air, aiming straight for Zhao Yuli's heart. Don't worry, I'll make your end unforgettable. Zhao Yuli's face turned from pale to ash gray, terror wrapping around her limbs like a venomous serpent, piercing straight into her soul. Uncle Kai was heavily wounded and near death. The divine sword talisman had been used. She had long seen the situation clearly. With her vitality at merely 9,000, there was no way she could escape the hands of a martial venerable. Now, she only sought an honorable death. Zhao Yuli still had one final trump card. Possessing an innate sword physique, she had nurtured a sword pellet within her dantian. Once the sword pellet was detonated, it would unleash a vast ocean of sword chi. It would grind every living creature within a 3-meter radius to dust. Even with Wang Chongyuan's demonic shroud and limb regeneration, it would still be impossible for him to survive that overwhelming storm of sword chi. She had already resolved to die, pressing her right hand tightly against her dantian, only waiting for Wang Chongyuan to close in before detonating the sword pellet. At the critical juncture, clang! A deafening metallic clash exploded in the canyon, sparks flying in all directions. A slender figure blocked the way in front of Zhao Yuli. A silvery, white longsword steadily parried Wang Chongyuan's demon, poison claw. Who's there? Wang Chongyuan's pupils contracted abruptly. As a martial venerable, his perception covered a radius of 1,000 meters. Any slight disturbance was within his grasp. Yet this person had materialized as if squeezing directly out of the void, completely soundless and trace-free. An eerily elusive movement technique. Looking at the figure's back, Zhao Yuli instantly recognized the Tingjun sword. Her thoughts ground to a halt. She was entirely stunned. Only after a long pause did she squeeze out 2 words. Chu Yun. Her voice trembled in utter disbelief. Why was he here? How could he? block a strike from Wang Chongyuan. Uncle Kai had fought with all his might, yet only held out for 5 moves before being mortally wounded. Even a martial emperor, grade divine sword talisman couldn't kill this monster. Yet Chu Yun was just a freshman with a vitality of 3,000. How did he manage this? Countless questions flashed through Zhao Yuli's mind, none with an answer. Chu Yun tilted his head slightly. His peripheral vision swept past Zhao Yuli, who was slumped on the ground behind him. Step back. Wang Chongyuan pulled his hand back, took 2 steps back, and sized up this uninvited guest from top to bottom. He recognized this face. These past few days, the entire Dragon Kingdom martial arts community had been talking about this face. At Kyoto Martial University, before the martial intent stele, comprehending the sword intent of martial emperor Qinzhan, Martial Saint Yao Zheng had arrived in person to award him the martial arts head student medal. A once-in-a-century supreme genius of the Dragon Kingdom's martial world. Chu Yun. Wang Chongyuan furrowed his brows. A genius of this caliber should have at least a martial emperor-level expert protecting him in secret. Chu Yun seemed to see right through his thoughts, remarking calmly, "Don't worry, aside from the 4 of us, there is no one else nearby." Wang Chongyuan opened his perception to the maximum limit. Confirming Chu Yun wasn't lying, his eyes instantly lit up. Excitement. An inexplicable surge of excitement. He felt as though he was looking at a butterfly that had just emerged from its cocoon. He couldn't help wanting to tear off those perfect wings to keep as a trophy. I was wondering who it was. Turns out to be the martial arts head student. Zhao Yuli finally snapped out of her shock, propping her hands against the ground to force herself up. He's a martial venerable. He turned to the demon race. You're no match for him. Run. Don't worry about me. He's not going anywhere. Wang Chongyuan's voice was low, carrying a trace of playfulness. That kid Wang Zikai died in the Kanglan secret realm. It must have something to do with you, right? What? You've defected to the demons, yet you still care about brotherly ties. Chu Yun neither denied nor admitted it. Seems my guess was right. You really did kill Wang Zikai. Though speaking of which, I actually have to thank you. Wang Chongyuan woke completely from his languid demeanor, exuding a dangerous aura. If you hadn't killed Wang Zikai, how would the Abyss's blessing have ever fallen to a branch disciple like me? Zhao Yuli was stunned once more. Chu Yun had actually killed Wang Zikai. If she remembered correctly, Wang Zikai was accompanied by a grandmaster at the time. How did he dare? So you feel you've made it now? The corner of Chu Yun's mouth curved slightly. Yet from how I see it, you just look like a hound groveling before the demon race. Ha ha ha. Wang Chongyuan laughed out of sheer fury, a streak of tyrannical killing intent flashing deep within his pupils. So what if I'm a hound? As long as the power is real, what does it matter whom I serve? Besides, you, a mere great martial master with 3,000 vitality, what right do you have to mock me? Do you really think comprehending Qinzhan's martial intent makes you invincible under heaven? He raised his right hand, fingers spread, coalescing a vortex of pitch, black demonic energy in his palm. A gap in vitality isn't something your pathetic martial intent can bridge. Zhao Yuli stepped forward, blocking Chu Yun, her right hand pressed against her dantian, ready to detonate the sword pellet at any moment. She whispered urgently, "Run? You cannot die here. I have a way to hold him off. Get out of here quickly." She was truly frantic. She had already cast aside her life just to perish together with the enemy. At a time like this, why are you trying to play the hero? Run, hurry and run. Zhao Yuli kept shooting glances at Chu Yun. In the way, Chu Yun lightly pushed Zhao Yuli aside, sending her straight back beside Uncle Kai. Then, deep within his dantian, that walnut-sized martial golden core abruptly detonated its power. Boom! A berserk pressure of vitality erupted violently from within Chu Yun. Dark red air currents burst outward with him at the center. The rocks beneath his feet cracked inch by inch, and loose stones within a 100-meter radius were blasted airborne. 5 million vitality. A genuine martial venerable realm. The air in the canyon seemed sucked dry, and even time appeared frozen at this moment. Wang Chongyuan's expression instantly froze. A martial venerable. You, how is this possible? Zhao Yuli and Uncle Kai were equally shocked. Especially Zhao Yuli. She was just about to charge forward again. Instead, she was rooted to the spot by Chu Yun's vitality suppression, unable to move. Her almond eyes stared fixedly at Chu Yun, her mind going blank in an instant. 5 million vitality. What was going on? The news reported only 3,000 vitality. Even if he hit his cultivation, from 3,000 to 5 million was simply absurd. That was a gap of 5 entire major realms. Just breaking through the barriers between major realms was enough to halt countless prodigies. Last time in the Kanglin's secret realm, Chu Yun's vitality was only barely over 1,000. Only a month had passed, and he had broken through to Martial Venerable? Could it be that Chu Yun was the destined savior sent by the heavens to rescue her? Wang Chongyuan gritted his teeth, suppressing the shock in his heart. So what if he's a Martial Venerable? He had fused with abyssal demonic energy and possessed an immortal body. The opponent was just a freshly broken, through rookie. How could he compare to a peak Martial Venerable like himself? No wonder you dared to appear before me so brazenly. Let me see just how much real substance this Martial Venerable of yours actually has. Wang Chongyuan unleashed his full vitality, his figure trailing a jet black afterimage. Relying on his demonic shroud, he attacked without defending. 5 claw blades tore through the air, wrapped in thick abyssal demonic energy, aiming straight for Chu Yun's throat. A full power strike from a peak Martial Venerable was enough to level a small hilltop. A peak Martial Venerable's vitality coupled with demonic enhancement produced speed so fast that Zhao Yuli's eyes couldn't track the trajectory at all. She only saw a black lightning bolt detonate from the spot, arriving in front of Chu Yun the very next instant. Zhao Yuli cried out, "Be careful!" Chu Yun merely stood in place, casually swinging the Tingjun sword. The law of ice flowed naturally. The instant the blade clashed with the claws, there was no expected resounding metallic crash. Only a faint crack, like thin ice being stepped on in winter. Wang Chongyuan's 5 claw fingers were severed clean at the base. At the cuts, a thin layer of frost condensed, smooth as a mirror. The 5 severed fingers flipped several times in the air before hitting the ground. What? Wang Chongyuan was startled. He didn't even have time to feel the pain. The wound was already sealed by the cold air, numbing the nerves completely. He looked down at his bare right hand, attempting to drive the demonic energy inside him to shatter the thin frost at the wound, to regenerate the limbs just like before. Yet the next second, his expression changed completely. That layer of frost seemed to have taken root, clinging firmly to the surface of his skin. He was actually unable to break through it for the moment. What kind of power is this? For the first time, fear crept into Wang Chongyuan's voice. It wasn't that he had never seen ice-type martial arts, but even heaven, grade high, tier arts couldn't seal his demonic energy. Zhao Yuli sat slumped on the ground, her almond eyes wide and round. She recognized the essence of that strike at a single glance. Martial intent, the law realm. Her father, the president of the Dragon Kingdom Sword Arts Association, head of the Zhao family, Martial Emperor Zhao Qinkuan, had wielded the sword since age 12 until today, studying the sword path for 46 full years, yet had only barely touched the threshold of unity of heaven and man. Meanwhile, Chu Yun, at 18 years old, had directly stepped into the law realm. If Zhao Qinkuan knew, his martial resolve would shatter on the spot. "Miss," Uncle Kai's voice came from the side, weak as a candle in the wind. Is that the law realm?" Zhao Yuli nodded mechanically. "Yes." Uncle Kai smiled. He smiled so much that he coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood, the froth splattering across the front of his robes. There was no agony in his eyes, only a sense of profound relief. In this lifetime, to see law-level sword intent, it's truly worth it. Chu Yun gave Wang Chongyuan no time to reflect. The Tingjun sword raised once more. This strike was even faster than the last. Where the sword light passed, moisture in the air instantly froze, leaving an ice-blue trail. Wang Chongyuan instinctively raised his left arm to parry. The sword light sliced through his shoulder without resistance, precise as a surgeon's scalpel. His right arm was severed clean at the shoulder. The severed arm flipped several times in the air and hit the ground heavily with a dull thud. No blood gushed forth. The wound's cross-section was sealed by thin ice, without a single drop of blood spilling out. "Ewa!" Wang Chongyuan let out a shrill scream. The lingering law of ice remained on the wound like an invisible lock, suppressing the circulation of demonic energy forcefully. The regeneration speed was slowed down more than 100-fold. At this rate, by the time he grew a new arm, everything would already be over. For the first time, Wang Chongyuan felt the threat of death. Breathing heavily, his pupils reflected Chu Yun's figure walking over with sword in hand. Don't come near me." Wang Chongyuan's voice trembled. Gone was the arrogance of a peak martial venerable from moments ago. He turned and fled, pushing the demonic energy in his body to the limit. Black mist detonated around him, propelling his body like an artillery shell toward the depths of the canyon. With the fleeing speed of a martial venerable, he covered over 100 meters in the blink of an eye. The corner of Chu Yun's mouth curled slightly. He took several steps in succession. Flash of light. In an instant, he appeared right behind Wang Chongyuan. The Tingjun's sword rose again, slashing out. Wang Chongyuan's left leg was severed at the knee. Losing balance entirely like a building stripped of its foundation, he crashed heavily to the ground, tumbling twice among the gravel before stopping. He lay on the ground, missing his right arm and left leg, yet without a speck of blood on him. Don't kill me. Wang Chongyuan's voice was hoarse, laced with tears. I can tell you the Wang family's secrets. I can tell you the demon race's plans. I can tell you everything. Chu Yun stepped forward slowly, uttering a single phrase in a voice only the two of them could hear. Praise the Holy Mother. Praise the Holy Mother. For words, light as feathers skimming across the water's surface. Wang Chongyuan's eyes flew wide open. A look of extreme complexity crossed his face. You are a follower of the Sacred Mother cult. He had meant to say, you are one of the Sacred Mother cult's people. But the words never made it past his lips. Several streaks of sword light blazed before his eyes. Swish, 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 his body was sliced into multiple pieces. To stop Wang Chongyuan from regenerating his severed limbs, Chu Yun unleashed the true fire art as a finishing blow. Boom, crimson, true fire surged from his palms, like greedy fire serpents devouring every fragment of flesh. The air reeked of burning flesh, mixed with the peculiar rotten stench of abyss demonic qi. Wang Chongyuan had met his end here, overwhelmed by fire and sharp blade alike. Chu Yun watched every shard turn to ashes. Only after confirming that Wang Chongyuan's aura had vanished completely did he turn around. Zhao Yueli was still propping up Uncle Kai. It was only when she watched Wang Chongyuan burn to cinders that the heavy weight in her heart finally lifted. Miss, leaning against the rock wall, Uncle Kai gasped for breath with great difficulty. Zhao Yueli quickly bent down. Uncle Kai, don't speak. I'll stop your bleeding. She pulled a vitality regeneration elixir from her spatial ring, pried Uncle Kai's jaws open, and carefully poured the medicine down his throat. The ashen hue on Uncle Kai's face faded visibly before their eyes. At the peak of Martial King rank, his vitality far surpassed ordinary folk. With timely treatment, his life was no longer in danger. Holding the Tingjun's sword, Chu Yun walked over. Glancing over the two of them, he spoke. How did you end up here? Zhao Yueli drew a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down, and recounted what had happened in broken sentences. My mother fell gravely ill a few days ago. We called in many physicians, yet none could identify the cause. They only said her vitality kept waning. This afternoon, I received an anonymous message. It said the Yinqing secret realm would open temporarily tonight. Deep inside lay a rare divine herb, the 9 revival spring grass, which could cure my mother. She bit her lower lip. I left without telling father and snuck out together with Uncle Kai. Her voice sank lower and lower, laced with self-reproach and lingering fear. Thinking back now, it was nothing but a trap. The secret realm is real, but the message was fake. The Wang clan is behind everything. Chu Yun tracked her breathing and heartbeat the whole time, detecting no sign of deception. Why did Wang Chongyuan side with the demons? Zhao Yuli shook her head, her brows knit tight. I cannot fathom it either. The Wang clan is a 300-year-old aristocratic house, guarded by a martial emperor, with profound foundations. Even after Wang Zikai was slain by you, they still have many gifted young successors. There is no need to stake the entire clan merely over one heir. What is more, allying with the Abyss demons carries the death penalty for 9 generations of one's kin. What could they possibly hope to gain? Understanding dawned on Chu Yun. Zhao Yueli was most likely meant to be the Wang clan's scapegoat. Now that the Abyss Rift had opened, the Dragon Kingdom's military would launch a full investigation. If the young lady of the Zhao clan died within the Yinqing secret realm, every lead would point straight at the Zhao clan. Meanwhile, the Wang clan would have wiped their hands clean of all suspicion. A twofold scheme. He sheathed the Tingjun's sword and said in a calm tone, They want to survive. Zhao Yueli stared in bewilderment. The old ancestor of the Wang clan's vitality is drying up. His lifespan is nearly spent. Chu Yun's voice remained steady. To prolong his own life, he is ready to sacrifice anything. Clansmen, resources, even the whole human race. None of these matter to him as much as clinging to a few extra years of life. His lifespan is drawing to an end. Zhao Yueli's eyelids twitched violently. Countless fragmented memories flashed through her mind. Like a bolt of lightning striking her, she froze where she stood. The old ancestor of the Wang clan had secluded himself for closed-door cultivation. He only emerged a few days ago to host his 100-year birthday banquet. My mother visited the Wang clan residence, and after she returned home, she left the sentence unfinished. Yet every piece of the puzzle had clicked into place. When her mother paid her visit to the Wang clan, the old ancestor had secretly sabotaged her meridians with some unknown technique. Then the Wang clan spread false intelligence to lure her deep into the Yinqing secret realm alone. Should she perish within this place, the Zhao clan would be thrown into chaos. The Wang clan would eliminate a major rival at one stroke, seize the Zhao clan's industries and resources, and advance their selfish agenda. Another twofold plot. The Wang clan, what a ruthless house. Chu Yun had not expected the old ancestor of the Wang clan to act so brazenly. He actually dared to hold a grand birthday feast. Yet upon reflection, it made sense. From the Wang clan's perspective, their secret pact with the demons had not yet been exposed. Where will the old ancestor's 100-year banquet be held? Zhao Yueli took a deep breath. Tomorrow, at the Queen's Hotel in Jinmen. Jinmen? Yes. Zhao Yueli nodded. Long ago, the old ancestor slew a martial emperor rank abyss demonic beast in Jinmen. That feat made him famous and allowed him to break through to martial emperor. Jinmen is where he rose to power, hence why he chose this location for his banquet. Chu Yun mentally mapped out Jinmen's geography. A major northern stronghold, it lay less than 200 kilometers from the capital, reachable by high-speed rail in 1 hour. By hosting the banquet in Jinmen, the Wang clan evaded the watchful eyes of the capital martial academy while keeping a tight grip on developments within the capital itself. Truly calculating minds. Take Uncle Kai and leave right now. Act as though nothing has happened. I will handle everything else. Remember, do not mention having seen me to anyone. He wished to keep his identity concealed. Nor could he afford for the Zhao clan to alert their foes. He would take the old ancestor of the Wang clan's head with his own hands. Zhao Yueli's pupils constricted slightly. Aren't you coming out with us? Chu Yun shook his head. I still have matters to attend to here. Zhao Yueli parted her lips, on the verge of warning him how dangerous it was to stay behind alone, yet she swallowed the words. This 18-year-old youth stood at martial venerable rank, wielding sword intent of the law realm. He had cut down a monster like Wang Chongyuan in an instant. What right did she have to lecture him about danger? Then, please stay safe. The instant her words faded. Boom, rumble, rumble. The ground shuddered violently. Zhao Yueli stumbled and nearly fell. Bracing herself against the rock wall to steady her balance, she lifted her gaze. Above the secret realm's inner depths, dark red clouds churned furiously as if stirred by an invisible giant hand. From the heart of those clouds, a pillar of dark red light shot straight toward the heavens. A heart-chilling aura permeated the air. Abyss demonic chi. You must leave at once. Chu Yun's brows drew tight, his voice growing far more urgent. His instincts screamed that someone had pried open an abyss passageway. Apart from Gu Ling, the demons had deployed other operatives. But what about you? Zhao Yueli tried to press the point. Go. Chu Yun cut her off. His gaze was sharp as a blade, silencing whatever she had been about to say. Remember what I told you. Zhao Yueli nodded, giving him one long, meaningful look. Supporting Uncle Kai, she staggered toward the secret realm exit. A few steps onward, she halted and glanced back. Chu Yun, come back alive. Chu Yun had already turned toward the secret realm's inner depths. He waved one hand casually in acknowledgement. Zhao Yueli watched his tall figure swallowed by the secret realm's crimson glow. Drawing a deep breath, she quickened her pace while holding up Uncle Kai. Miss, Uncle Kai's voice came out faint. We get out first. Zhao Yueli spoke with unprecedented resolve. Then we go find father. Chu Yun raced forward, following the source of the abyss demonic chi. Deep within the Yinqing secret realm lay a circular clearing roughly 300 meters across. At its center stood a 5-meter-tall diamond-shaped stone pillar. Its surface was jet black, carved all over with dense runes. Dark, red light rippled across those runes, pulsing like blood vessels beneath skin, slow yet powerful. This was the anchor point for the Abyss Rift. The Dragon Kingdom's military had sealed the rift through immense power, and this pillar formed the core of that seal. Right now, a jet black Vajra had been driven deep into the pillar. Twisting tendrils of abyss demonic chi coiled outward, clashing fiercely against the pillar's spiritual runes amid sizzling corrosion sounds. Beneath the corruption of demonic chi, the dark, red runes clouded over at a visible rate. Beside the pillar stood a man. Tall of stature, he wore a dark, gray robe. He appeared around 40 years old. His cheeks were gaunt, cheekbones prominent, and gold-rimmed spectacles rested upon his nose. Beneath his feet lay a corpse, face down, its back soaked through with fresh blood. Thick blood mixed with the rotten stench peculiar to abyss demonic qi hung heavy in the air. Stepping out from the canyon shadows, Chu Yun unleashed honored thought, rank mental power spreading outward like invisible ripples to scan the stranger. That aura, heavy as a mountain, surging like an ocean. Martial Emperor. Chu Yun's pupils narrowed. He advanced unhurriedly, hands tucked in his trouser pockets, his face wearing Gu Ling's characteristic cold indifference. Staring at the man's face, he felt a strong sense of familiarity. It was as if he looked through frosted glass. The figure stood right before him, yet he could not place where he had seen him before. The middle-aged man noticed Chu Yun. His eyebrows shot high. Chu Yun, I never expected to meet you here. It is me, Zhou Haisheng. Boom. Something exploded inside Chu Yun's mind. Zhou Haisheng, vice curator of the Chu clan martial hall. It was from him that Chu Hao had obtained his genetic agent. He was the root cause behind Chu Hao's demonic corruption back during the martial examination tournament. Before coming to the capital, Chu Yun had sought information regarding Zhou Haisheng. Records from the Martial Administration Bureau stated that he had vanished before the Chu clan's downfall. Marked as a high-priority suspect, he had eluded capture all this time. Chu Yun had assumed he had fled to some remote corner, hiding away in obscurity. He had never imagined Zhou Haisheng had become a demon agent and climbed to such heights of power. For over 10 years, a genuine martial emperor had lurked quietly as vice curator of the Chu clan martial hall. Such forbearance was far more terrifying than Wang Chongyuan's reckless madness. Suppressing the shocks surging inside him, Chu Yun betrayed no outward reaction. He spoke in a frigid tone. What are you doing here? The faint smile faded from Zhou Haisheng's lips. His gaze shifted from amusement to sharp scrutiny. I ought to ask you that same question. The Yinqing secret realm counts among Dragon Kingdom's top secret sites. Martial, Emperor, rank guards stand posted at its entrance. Outsiders cannot possibly enter. How did you get inside? And how did you track down the secret realm core? Chu Yun wasted no words. He flipped one palm. A jet black Vajra materialized in his grasp. Zhou Haisheng's eyes blazed. Disbelief flashed deep within his pupils. Realization soon dawned. So that explains your meteoric rise in strength, from 3,000 vitality to martial venerable. You two have thrown in your lot with the demons. You hide your intentions exceptionally well, unlike that fool Chu Hao. Had he allied with the demons sooner, he would not have perished so miserably. Chu Yun listened without change of expression. His eyes drifted down to the corpse on the ground. Who is he? Zhou Haisheng glanced carelessly down as though observing refuse. Him? Another fool who tried to drive the Vajra into the core ahead of me. Peak martial venerable, undeniably talented. Pity that his wits left much to be desired. He kept prattling about who arrived first, blind to his own insignificance. So I granted him a merciful end. Task assigned by Lord Qilong. How dare he attempt to steal it from me? Qilong, Demon Emperor of the East Sea Abyss. The East Sea Abyss formed one of Dragon Kingdom's 4 major abyss defense lines, posing an even greater threat than the northern border Great Wall. If the East Sea Abyss demons moved in full force, Xia Lai, Dragon Kingdom's martial emperor guarding the East Sea, would be completely pinned down. Dragon Kingdom's top-tier combat forces would be stretched impossibly thin. Just how many demon factions had the Wang clan sold information to? Chu Yun had no way of knowing. Yet one fact was confirmed. The demons were far from a unified bloc. Mo Yuan and Qilong answered to competing factions. Any cooperation between them was built purely on shared interests rather than racial solidarity. That meant, with careful maneuvering, Chu Yun could exploit their internal conflicts and seek opportunities amid their strife. What a coincidence. Emperor Mo Yuan also gave me a mission. He ordered me to open the Abyss passageway at all costs, to ease pressure upon the northern border Great Wall. Zhou Haisheng adjusted his gold-rimmed spectacles and said calmly, though we serve different demon lords, we are still kin. Our goal against humanity remains identical. Even if this passage links to the East Sea Abyss, it will still tie down human forces from the capital. If Zhou Haisheng succeeded in connecting to the East Sea Abyss, the capital would fall in an instant. Worse still, the entire East Sea defense line might collapse. Chu Yun reached an immediate decision. He slowly shook his head. The Tingjun sword shot forth from his wrist. This passage must fall under the control of our northern border demons. Zhou Haisheng stared for a heartbeat before bursting into loud laughter, echoes reverberating across the open clearing. A mere early-stage martial venerable dares draw your blade against a martial emperor. Where does such arrogance come from? His words had barely faded when martial, emperor, ranked vital. Qi pressure erupted from his body like an exploding volcano. Chu Yun stood unmoving, his clothes flapping violently in the surging shockwave. Within his mind palace, honored, thought, rank mental power burst forth like broken floodwaters. Golden mental energy intertwined with dark, red vital qi around his body, forming a visible dual-colored halo. Martial venerable plus honored thought. This dual pressure stood evenly matched against Zhou Haixing's martial emperor aura. Zhou Haixing's laughter died on his lips. His pupils contracted sharply. He stared fixedly at the golden mental power halo wrapping around Chu Yun, shock written across his features. You are an honored thought cultivator. Dual cultivation of martial arts and thought power, both reaching high rank thresholds. Such an achievement had never been recorded throughout the histories of humans and demons alike. No wonder you dare come alone. Zhou Haixing's features darkened. His right hand drifted to his waist and drew a jet black broadsword. Its blade measured roughly 1.5 meters. Dark, red demonic runes crawled across its edge. Set into the hilt sat a fist-sized black crystal, inside which eerie red light throbbed. Emperor, grade demon blade, Soul Reaper. If you insist on courting death, I shall send you to your grave. Chu Yun slightly lifted his sword point. Power of the laws naturally stirred along its tip. Blade light billowed around Zhou Haixing. Dark, red demonic qi dancing along the cutting edge. Where the blade passed, air corroded with a hissing noise. A scornful smirk tugged at his lips. Early, stage martial venerable versus early, stage martial emperor. Even with dual martial thought cultivation, the gap in strength remained insurmountable. If you insist on courting death, I shall send you to your grave. The words had barely left his mouth before Zhou Haixing vanished from where he stood. Martial, emperor, grade vital. Qi exploded to its fullest. The rock beneath his feet shattered, spider, web cracks spreading outward for 10 meters. Carrying dense abyss demonic qi, the Soul Reaper sword chopped down from above. As the blade sliced through air, it carved a jet black trail. Space along that path warped faintly, releasing teeth, grating hums. No probing strikes. Zhou Haixing unleashed his full power blow from the very start. Chu Yun's pupils narrowed. Honored, thought mental power had already fully registered every movement of his foe. He took one step forward. Flash step. His figure vanished, reappearing 10 meters away. Zhou Haixing's strike met empty air. The blade crashed where Chu Yun had stood moments before. Boom. 100-meter long gash split the rocky ground. Rock along its edges corroded by demonic qi hissed and billowed black smoke. Rubble sprayed everywhere amid clouds of dust. Dodging. Let me see you evade this strike. Zhou Haixing roared. His sword technique shifted abruptly. Demonic qi on Soul Reaper burst forth, exploding into countless fine black threads spreading from the blade. Like an all-encompassing net, they blanketed a full kilometer of space surrounding Chu Yun. Each demonic thread was sharp as steel, capable of rending flesh to shreds on contact. One of Zhou Haixing's killing arts, Demon Blade Heavenly Net, devised specifically against agile opponents. Area of effect suppression replaced precise strikes, leaving foes nowhere to run. A glint flickered in Chu Yun's eyes. When it came to sheer volume of attacks, he feared no one. Tai sword divide. One sword becomes 1,000. Silvery, white sword. Light erupted from the Tingjun sword. One split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. In less than half a second, over 1,000 streaks of sword. Light poured down like a torrential downpour, shooting toward Zhou Haixing from every direction. Each strand of sword. Light carried the biting chill of the ice law. Water molecules in the air froze instantly in their wake, leaving thousands of icy blue trails. Clink, 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 clink. Sword. Light collided against the demon net, producing dense, rapid crackling sounds like rain beating upon plantain leaves. The demon net stretched wide, yet there were even more sword beams. In an instant, the sword, light tore the net completely to shreds. Sword, light multiplied further, growing denser, striking from ever more cunning angles. Zhou Haixing's expression shifted. He spun Soul Reaper rapidly in his grasp. Dark, red sword. Qi swirled around him, forming an impenetrable defensive barrier. Sizzle one streak of sword. Light slipped through gaps in his sword. Qi defense and grazed his right arm. The blade sliced through his sleeve, carving a shallow bleeding wound across his skin. A thin layer of frost formed along the cut. Zhou Haixing's brows knotted tight. Piercing cold radiated from the injury, seeping into his meridians and partially suppressing the flow of demonic qi within his body. What is this? A hint of alarm colored Zhou Haixing's voice. While swinging his sword to deflect the endless rain of sword light, he poured forth vital qi in a desperate bid to shake off the frost. Martial, Emperor, grade vital. Qi burned at full output, yet it took 10 full seconds for him to break free. He had gravely underestimated this power. What devilish power is this? The laws. Fundamental rules of heaven and earth. Before the laws, demonic qi and vital qi were merely forms of energy. The laws represented rules themselves. Energy could counter energy, yet energy could not oppose rules. Not unless one also wielded power over the laws. Zhou Haixing could not. His cultivation had been artificially elevated through abyss demonic qi. His foundations were hollow. He had never even grasped true martial intent, let alone reach the law realm. Observing Zhou Haixing's panic, Chu Yun remained calm inside. This was the terrifying might of the law realm. It suppressed opponents at a fundamental level. All the power you took pride in became helpless before the rules. What's wrong? Already losing your composure? Chu Yun's voice stayed level. Anger flushed Zhou Haixing's face crimson. For years he had groveled as a dog for the demons. For what? To trample underfoot all those who had once looked down on him. Now this upstart youth, barely allied with demons, dared taunt him face to face. Worst of all, he could not even comprehend the nature of the foe's techniques. Humiliation burned deep. At that moment, he could well understand how Chu Hao must have felt. Death. He must die? Even if Chu Yun served the same demon faction, he had to die? I will destroy you. Zhou Haixing roared, his eyes blazing blood red. He held Soul Reaper horizontally before him. The eerie red light throbbing within the black crystal on its hilt grew more frantic. Boom. Martial, Emperor Vital, Qi and demonic Qi erupted simultaneously. A dark, red shockwave exploded outward from his figure, hurling away all rubble within a 100-meter radius. Zhou Haixing's frame bulked outward, muscles bulging. Twisted black patterns surfaced across his skin, writhing like venomous serpents beneath. Demonic transformation. Abandoning his human form, he fully merged with abyss demonic qi. His power surged higher. Having been forcibly elevated from the early martial emperor stage to the mid-martial emperor stage. Die. Zhou Haixing took one step forward, blowing open a 10-meter wide crater in the ground. He moved at extreme speed. Even Chu Yun's honored mind perception could barely catch a blurry afterimage. The soul, devouring saber carried violent demonic energy and slashed straight down toward Chu Yun's crown. This strike held no finesse at all. It was pure, overwhelming power. Chu Yun's pupils narrowed slightly. He sank his body a little and held the thunder, June's sword upright before him. Clang. The saber, light struck the sword, bursting into blinding sparks. Chu Yun slid backward 5 meters, his feet plowing 2 shallow grooves across the ground. The protective glow of the Qilin armor flickered across his chest, absorbing every last trace of the impact force. Zhou Haixing frowned. Blocked? An early martial honored had taken his fully demon, transformed strike head on, without taking a scratch. His gaze fell on the dark, gold inner armor Chu Yun wore, and his pupils shrank. Emperor, great armor. No wonder. Just how many treasures did this brat possess? That sword too. It looked unremarkable, yet it had endured his full power blow without so much as a nick. Even his own soul, devouring demon saber, also an emperor grade weapon, might not have managed that. Could it be a saint grade weapon? Impossible. Even if he had defected to the demons, Mo Yuan would never be so generous. That was a saint grade weapon. Something even martial saints might not possess. Had enough? Chu Yun spoke in a calm voice. If you have, then it is my turn. Before his voice faded, his figure vanished on the spot. Flash step. Chu Yun appeared instantly before Zhou Haixing. The thunder, June's sword stabbing straight for his throat. Zhou Haixing instinctively raised his saber to block. Clang. Sword and saber clashed, sending sparks flying everywhere. Zhou Haixing staggered 3 steps back, his tiger, mouth throbbing with numbness. Chu Yun did not stop. The second sword sliced toward his left shoulder. Zhou Haixing blocked again. Clang. The third sword cut toward his right leg. Zhou Haixing blocked once more. Clang. Fourth sword, fifth sword, sixth sword. Chu Yun's strokes grew faster and heavier. Every strike carried the ice law. Frigid cold spread wherever the blade passed. Zhou Haixing found blocking increasingly difficult. Demon transformation was a fighting style that cast defense aside entirely, yet the foe's ice law was overwhelmingly fierce. His enlarged frame had become nothing but a burden. He was forced into constant defensive maneuvers. Dozens of wounds had opened across his body. None were deep, but frost creeping along each wound acted like invisible shackles, sealing away his strength. Zhou Haixing grew more and more frustrated as the fight dragged on. He could unleash less than 50% of his mid-martial emperor power. 40 years of combat experience, and still he was outmatched by an 18-year-old martial honored. He was like a ferocious beast trapped inside a cage, armed with claws and fangs yet unable to reach the hunter standing outside. Who exactly are you? Zhou Haixing's voice turned hoarse with fear. When did Mo Yuan's faction gain a monster like you? Dual cultivation of martial power and mental power, heaven, rank movement art, and that accursed ice-type martial skill. You are not Chu Yun. Chu Yun is nowhere near this strong. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of Chu Yun's mouth. Correct yourself. That is no ice-type martial skill. It is lost sword intent. Zhou Haixing's pupils contracted violently. He had never comprehended martial truth, but he knew of its existence. Martial truth, the realm of laws, a domain even martial emperors might never touch. This 18-year-old youth was not merely a martial honored. He had also stepped into the realm of laws with his martial truth. What kind of monstrous genius was this? No, Zhou Haixing muttered to himself. I cannot keep fighting like this. Fear had taken hold of him. A dignified martial emperor felt terror toward a martial honored. He began to retreat. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Trying to run, Chu Yun took a stride. He materialized behind Zhou Haixing, slashing for the nape of his neck. Zhou Haixing gritted his teeth and took the blow head-on. The blade bit deep into his shoulder, leaving a bone-deep gash. Frost spread instantly, suppressing demonic energy regeneration. He let out a muffled groan, hurling his demon saber with his right hand to force Chu Yun back. From within his robes, his left hand pulled out a blood-red crystal and crushed it violently. Raging demonic power surged forth from the crystal and flooded into his body, temporarily breaking the ice law's suppression. Burn! Zhou Haixing roared. Both his vitality and demonic energy ignited, wrapping his whole body in dark, red flames. Flames danced across his skin, hissing and crackling. Flesh burned, meridians burned, his dantian burned. His cultivation rocketed, mid-martial emperor to late martial emperor, then surging all the way to peak martial emperor. Then he spun around and fled. Burning his life force bought him a burst of supreme speed. Dark red fire trailed far behind him like a meteor streaking toward the ceiling stone pillar. Chu Yun's pupils contracted sharply. He instantly saw Zhou Haixing's true objective. The man would sacrifice everything to complete his mission and open the abyss rift. Damn it! Chu Yun advanced, pushing Flash Step to its absolute limit. A silvery white afterimage streaked through the air as he raced toward the ceiling stone pillar at near light speed. But Zhou Haixing's life-burning price was immense. He covered the 500-meter distance in less than half a second. He crashed before the ceiling stone pillar, seized the Vajra pestle already embedded within it, and rammed it down hard. Crack! Spiritual runes across the ceiling stone pillar flickered wildly. Black, demonic energy gushed from fissures like a broken dam. The pillar split open, cracks spreading rapidly down from its apex. The abyss rift was opening. By the time Chu Yun arrived, all he saw was Zhou Haixing's maniacal grin. Too late. Zhou Haixing cackled hoarsely, blood frothing at his lips. The rift has opened. You cannot stop me. Ha ha ha. His body began to disintegrate. Burning flesh turned to ashes, leaving only bone behind. Yet his hands still clamped firmly to the Vajra pestle. Damn you, you fight dirty. Frowning hard, Chu Yun sliced clean through Zhou Haixing's wrists with his sword. He raised his left palm toward the ceiling stone pillar. Honored mind-grade mental power poured forth at full output. Golden mental power surged out, forming a 10-meter-wide golden barrier around the ceiling stone pillar. Dense runes swirled across its surface, forcing the gushing demonic energy back into the fissures. It was not enough. Demonic energy flowed too fast. The fissures were too wide. Chu Yun's golden barrier could only buy time, not achieve complete sealing. Sweat beaded his forehead. His mental power drained away visibly. Give up. Zhou Haixing's voice drifted from his burning remains, growing weaker by the second. The rift has opened. You cannot seal it. Chu Yun ignored him. Gritting his teeth, he kept pouring out mental power. The ice law circulated naturally, freezing the edges of the fissures to slow the outflow of demonic energy. True fire art incinerated and purified whatever demonic energy escaped. Gold, ice blue and crimson glows intertwined around the ceiling stone pillar, forming a three-colored barrier. The fissures finally stopped expanding, yet demonic energy continued to seep out. Chuyin knew this was only temporary. His mental power was finite. Once exhausted, the rift would tear fully open. Then the capital, Dragon Country, the entire human race would face catastrophe. He needed another solution. A thought flashed across Chuyun's mind. Lu Fengxian. She could forge independent pockets of space using mental power to contain abyss fissures. Though he was merely an honored mind, 2 great realms below Saint Mind, he might just pull it off. I have to take this gamble. Chuyun drew a deep breath and released every last shred of his mental power. Golden mental power coalesced above him into a colossal golden hand that blotted out the sky. The giant hand descended slowly, wrapping around the ceiling stone pillar together with all escaping demonic energy, and pulled outward. He intended to tear the entire abyss rift free from the Yin City secret realm, and drag it into a mental space of his own making. Watching this unfold, Zhou Haixing's eyes widened in utter disbelief. You have lost your mind? Zhou Haixing's distorted voice echoed like wails from the underworld, forcibly creating a mental space to seal an abyss rift. It will not work. You can only delay the inevitable for a little while. When your mental power runs dry, you will be reduced to a complete invalid. This rift belongs to the great East Sea Abyss. Lord Qi Long will avenge me. With those words, Zhou Haixing crumbled completely into ashes. Chuyun looked away and refocused every scrap of his attention on the ceiling stone pillar. He could feel his mental power draining at a terrifying rate. He could hold on for at most 2 hours. If no permanent sealing solution was found within those 2 hours, the abyss rift would burst wide open. Martial Emperor-rank demon beasts would then pour forth like floodwaters. The Yin City secret realm would fall in 10 minutes. Demon beasts would breach the southern suburban defenses in 20 minutes. The capital, Dragon Country's heart would be exposed to the fangs of the abyss without warning. Chuyun breathed deep, forcing himself to stay calm. Ascension Stairway, activate. Within his microcosm, time accelerated. First year, Chuyun split his mental power into 2 streams. One stream sustained the mental space. The other probed deep inside the rift to analyze its structure. Inside the rift stretched endless darkness. There was no up, no down, no distance, only a soul-chilling void. From time to time, faint dark red glimmers flickered deep within, like some colossal beast's eye opening then shutting again in the dark. Space folded, time warped. The moment his mental power touched it, it was shredded apart. Beyond comprehension. At his current cultivation level, he could not fathom the abyss rift. 10th year. Chuyun switched approaches. Zhou Haixing had used a Vajra pestle to open a passage to the East Sea Abyss. His own Vajra pestle linked to the northern border Great Wall Abyss. This meant some form of connection existed between the Vajra pestles and the rift. He sent a wisp of mental power into the Vajra pestle. Its internal structure was far simpler than the abyss rift. Fundamentally, it was a coordinate anchor point. When inserted into the secret realm core, the pestle guided the rift by its coordinates toward the pre-established East Sea Abyss passage. So that was how it worked. 30th year. Chuyun kept theorizing. 60th year. Chuyun retrieved his own Vajra pestle from his system space. This one bore the spatial coordinates for the northern border abyss. 2 Vajra pestles, 2 sets of coordinate anchors. One linked to the East Sea Abyss, the other to the northern border Great Wall Abyss. What if he drove his own Vajra pestle into the ceiling stone pillar as well? If 2 coordinate anchors projected onto the same spot at once, which side would the rift connect to? Answer: neither. When 2 coordinate anchors projected onto one location, spatial coordinates would clash. Once conflict reached a threshold, spatial rules would auto-correct, birthing spatial turbulence. That turbulence would ultimately tear the passage apart. Chuyun's eyes flew open. His golden mental power barrier still functioned, yet his complexion had paled. Nearly half of his 2-hour limit had already burned away. He grasped his Vajra pestle and rammed it hard into the fissure. Boom! The ceiling stone pillar shook violently. Demonic energy surging from the rift exploded upward like a volcanic eruption. Cracks spread like spiderwebs across the flickering golden mental power barrier. Within Chuyun's mental perception, previously stable coordinate anchors began thrashing wildly. One pointed east, one pointed north. Space inside the rift could not endure the opposing pulls. It began tearing itself apart. It worked. Chuyun had barely let out a breath of relief when the next instant arrived. An enormous palm burst out from the fissure. Pitch black, covered in fine scales, its outspread fingers spanned over a meter, its claws sharp as blades. The moment the palm emerged, The already collapsing passage was forcibly stabilized by its overwhelming power. Chu Yun's pupils contracted violently. That hand was propping the rift open by brute force. He could sense a supremely terrifying aura drawing near from beyond the fissure. He had felt a comparable aura only once before, from Yao Zheng. Peak martial saint. Perhaps even stronger. A martial emperor? This was supposed to be merely a martial emperor-class rift. Those sanctuary church scoundrels had lied through their teeth. Chu Yun gritted his teeth. Tides of golden mental power crashed against the giant palm, yet it did not shift an inch. The giant hand pressed further outward, its wrist now visible. Do I have to use the heavenly blade talisman? Countless thoughts raced through Chu Yun's mind. Yao Zheng had given him the heavenly blade talisman, nourished for 50 years with Azura blade force, capable of instantly slaying a martial saint. It would have no trouble cleaving this giant hand. Yet once used, it would be gone forever. Just as Chu Yun's fingers brushed against the heavenly blade talisman, words Zhou Haisheng had spoken echoed in his mind. The last fool who tried driving a Vajra pestle into the core. A brand new idea slowly took shape in his mind. Chu Yun glanced over the rubble toward one of the corpses. The late peak martial honored's right hand lay half open. Resting in his palm, his pupils shrank abruptly. A third Vajra pestle lay there. Chu Yun reached out with his will and drew the pestle into his grasp. His mind raced at full speed. Zhou Haisheng possessed one, connected to the East Sea Abyss. Sima Ming had given him another, connected to the northern border Great Wall. This dead peak martial honored carried a third, where it linked to no longer mattered. 3 Vajra pestles, 3 coordinate anchors, all interfering with a single rift. The passage would not hold. By now the giant hand's elbow had emerged fully. Without hesitation, Chu Yun drove the third Vajra pestle deep into the fissure. Boom! East Sea, northern border, and the unknown third coordinate. 3 forces collided savagely inside the passage. Edges of the rift crumpled like crumpled paper, folding tighter and deeper. The giant palm jolted violently and retreated halfway back inside. Think you can run? Stay right there. Chu Yun dispelled his mental power barrier. He channeled all remaining mental power into a giant golden hand that seized the giant palm by the wrist. Crack a brittle snap. Space collapsed. The 3 coordinate forces inside the rift hit critical mass. The passage could endure no more. The rift began caving in on itself. The giant palm struggled furiously to pull free, held fast by Chu Yun's golden grip. The rift shrank faster and faster. Crack a second sharp snap. The spatial rift acted like an invisible guillotine, severing the giant hand clean off. Black blood gushed from the stump. The colossal hand crashed heavily onto the ground. Roar! Right before the rift sealed completely, a deafening roar echoed out, filled with rage and agony, shaking the entire secret realm to its foundations. The dark red fissure vanished entirely. The ceiling stone pillar shattered into pieces. Demonic energy hanging in the air, deprived of its source, slowly dissipated. All was quiet at last. Chu Yun let out a long breath. Clink, a walnut-sized green crystal rolled to his feet. Chu Yun looked down, bent, and picked it up. It felt cool and smooth in his palm, shimmering with dark green light. Ding! Detected martial emperor rank abyss core. Vital chi contained, 10 million. Chu Yun's eyelid twitched. 10 million units of vital chi. More than enough to boost him straight from early martial honored to martial emperor. Even Dragon Country's national martial repository likely held no resource of such caliber. This secret realm expedition, he had defeated a martial emperor against all odds, forcibly sealed an abyss rift, nearly drained his mental power, and burned through several of his trump cards. At last, he had something tangible to show for it. He stowed the abyss core inside his system space. Then he pulled out a mental power recovery potion, pulled out the stopper, and drank it down in one gulp. His heavily depleted mental power slowly rebounded. Lastly, his gaze fell on the severed giant hand lying on the ground. A severed hand belonging to a demon race martial emperor. Could this thing be exchanged for merit points? Never mind. Burning it would be safer. As wisp of samadhi true fire gathered at Chu Yun's fingertip, 3 presences registered in his perception. 1 martial emperor, 2 peak martial honored, heading straight for the core zone. Chu Yun's pupils narrowed. More powerful foes. 3 figures streaked across the sky, leaving 3 visible white shockwaves in their wake. Moments later they landed, forming a triangular formation 10 meters before Chu Yun. Leading them was a middle-aged man in his 50s. Square-jawed, thick-browed, he wore a dark blue military greatcoat embroidered with golden general rank insignia on his epaulets. Martial Emperor Liao Juanji. garrison commandant of Yin City secret realm under Dragon Country's military. Chu Yin had seen his photograph in Sima Ming's documents. Behind Liao Juanji stood a man and a woman, both peak martial honored. The man in his early 40s had a stern face and carried an all-black long sword at his waist. The woman, not yet 35, kept her hair short and practical, with a silvery white spear slung across her back. All three fixed their eyes on Chu Yun. You are. Liao Juanji's gaze lingered on Chu Yun's face for a second. His pupils shrank, then his brows knotted sharply. Chu Yun. Chu Yun nodded. That is me. Liao Juanji's frown deepened. He knew of Chu Yun's reputation. 18-year-old, comprehending sword truth left behind by martial Emperor Qinzhan, personally awarded the title top martial disciple by Martial Saint Yaozheng, hailed as Dragon Country's once-in-a-century peerless genius. None of that mattered right now. The real question was why this youth stood here. Yin City Secret Realm was top-secret Dragon Country territory. Ordinary people could not even draw near, let alone enter. Not even the top martial disciple could access this zone without official military approval. How did you get here? Liao Juanji asked bluntly. His tone was not harsh, yet carried unignorable pressure. Chu Yun had long anticipated this question. He recounted events in concise terms, starting from receiving an anonymous tip, entering Yin City Secret Realm, discovering Zhou Haixing using a Vajra pestle to activate the Abyss Rift, fighting Zhou Haixing, and finally triggering coordinate anchor conflict with Vajra pestles to force the rift shut. He omitted his bone spirit identity and his encounter with Zhao Yueli. He merely stated he had received intelligence warning of trouble brewing inside Yin City Secret Realm and had come to investigate. As for the source of the tip, the top martial disciple was privy to certain special intelligence channels, an explanation plausible enough. Liao Juanji did not press for details. His full attention locked onto Chu Yun's final statement. You were saying. Liao Juanji's throat felt dry. You closed the Abyss Rift? Yes. Chu Yun shifted half a step aside and gestured toward the giant's severed hand behind him. That is the giant demon race hand cut off when the rift sealed. Liao Juanji followed his gaze and spotted the massive hand radiating abyss demonic energy. His pupils contracted violently. He strode forward, knelt and touched the wreckage with his fingertips. The aura of a martial emperor rank demon. This cannot be. The two martial-honored officers hurried over, equally stunned. That is, a martial emperor's aura? I have faced this exact demonic aura at the EC Abyss. There is no mistaking it. An 18-year-old freshman. Single-handedly, he first took down the demon clan's hidden agents, then sealed off the Abyss Rift. He even severed the hand of a demon clan martial emperor. Who would believe a story like this if word got out? Liao Juanji's Adam's apple bobbed. He said in a low voice, the scanner. The female military officer hurried forward, pulled a palm-sized black device from her spatial ring, and aimed it at the spot where the sealing stone pillar had once stood before pressing the activation button. A low hum emanated from the device, and numbers began to flicker across its display screen. Nothing registered at all. The female officer walked over to the shattered remains of the sealing stone pillar and pressed the button once more. Still zero. She lifted her head and looked at Liao Juanji, her eyes wide with disbelief. Commander Liao, the scanner detects no abyss spirit energy fluctuations whatsoever. The rift, it really has been sealed. Liao Juanji snatched the device away and operated it himself. Scan, calibrate, scan again, calibrate again. The results stayed the same. 0. He set the device down, drew in a deep breath, and slowly exhaled. Shock flooded his weather-beaten eyes as he turned his gaze back toward Chu Yun. The young man stood amid scattered rock debris and monster remains, hands tucked into his trouser pockets, his expression calm. Dust and battle-stained blood flecked his clothes, yet there was not the slightest trace of self-satisfaction over his great feat. Do you know, Liao Juanji said, the northern border Great Wall is locked in fierce combat? Marshal Sage Yaozheng and more than a dozen martial emperors are pinned down there, and capital city defenses are stretched paper-thin. If this rift had fully opened, he continued, the capital would possess no spare troops to contain this breach. Chu Yun gave a slight nod. He was well aware of all of this. Now that threat is gone. Relief surged through Liao Juanji's voice. The southern suburban defense line no longer faces that peril. Extra troops can all be redeployed to reinforce the northern border Great Wall. This is an extraordinary accomplishment, especially under these current critical circumstances. Sealing an abyss rift, severing a demon clan martial emperor's limb, his excitement mounted. Reported in full, this deed is worth no less than 500,000 merit points. At those words, the The two martial honor-ranked officers both sharply drew in their breaths. 500,000 merit points. What did that even mean? Combined, the two of them had earned fewer merit points across more than 10 years of military service. Still, neither thought the reward excessive. An opened abyss rift would have endangered the entire northern territory of Longhua. By sealing it, Chu Yun had snuffed out a catastrophe that could have laid waste to half the nation. Even so, envy stirred within them. The female officer's eyes nearly bulged out of her head. The stern-faced male officer kept his outward composure, yet reverence crept into the way he looked at Chu Yun. However, Liao Juanji shifted his tone. I lack the authority to directly approve 500,000 merit points. This must be submitted to Marshal Sage Yao Zheng for his personal ratification. Come, return to the garrison with me. Chu Yun shook his head. Not yet. Liao Juanji halted mid-step. Not yet. 500,000 merit points. And you say not yet? There is no use rushing, Chu Yun replied coolly. The principal is fighting on the northern border Great Wall. News will take time to reach him. He paused, then changed subject. Besides, the mastermind behind everything is still at large. I would not rest easy even if I received those merit points right now. The mastermind? Liao Juanji frowned. You mean Zhou Haixing? Is he not already dead? Zhou Haixing was merely the blade. Chu Yun glanced at the pile of burnt-out ashes that had once been a corpse. The hand wielding that blade still walks free. Liao Juanji's brows knit tight. Who? The old ancestor of the Wang clan. The air seemed to freeze on the spot. Dark, red light fell across the four figures, casting every emotion plainly upon their faces. The two martial honor-ranked officers exchanged glances, equally stunned. Liao Juanji's pupils constricted violently. His lips parted as though verifying he had heard correctly. You mean, the Wang clan, one of the four great clans? Their old ancestor? Chu Yun nodded without excess emotion. Impossible, Liao Juanji burst out. The Wang clan has long funded the military and supplied countless talented recruits. 3 young men from the Wang clan serve right here within my Yinqing secret zone defense perimeter. You claim their old ancestor colludes with the demon clan? How can that possibly be? One may know a man's face, but never know his heart, Chu Yun said evenly. Commander Liao, how do you suppose I and those demon clan infiltrators got inside this secret zone? Liao Juanji's Adam's apple rolled, and he fell silent. True enough. Yinqing's secret zone was top secret national territory. He, a martial emperor, guarded its entrance, and spirit, energy monitoring arrays covered 10 kilometers in every direction. Without inside assistance, how had Chu Yun gotten in? How had the demon agent slipped through? Several days ago, Liao Juanji's gaze turned deep as he recalled overlooked details. Messengers from the Wang clan delivered birthday banquet invitations. For 5 full minutes, spirit, energy readings at the checkpoint malfunctioned. The female officer picked up the thread. I remember that incident. Subsequent investigations concluded. High-rank wild magical beasts had strayed across the wilderness borders and triggered peripheral alarms. 5 minutes. The stern male officer spoke in a low, murmuring tone. More than enough time to plant back, door code in the checkpoint's main control chip and create blind spots across the whole defensive surveillance network. Liao Juanji pictured the messenger from that day. Gentle smiles, polished manners, faultless speech. Looking back, those 5 minutes when he had stepped away had been the perfect opening for sabotage. Even so, he refused to jump to conclusions. Where is your evidence? There is none, Chu Yun said with a shake of his head. He did not require hard evidence. He only needed to bring military officers along to confront the Wang old ancestor. Deliver one simple demand. Cooperate with the investigation concerning the Yinqing secret zone breach. If the Wang old ancestor could remain perfectly unruffled through that confrontation, Chu Yun would concede he was truly formidable. Still, as garrison commander of Yinqing's secret zone, you possess authority to investigate how this secret zone was breached. It is entirely legitimate for you to lead men to the Wang clan residence on suspicion of collusion with demon forces. Doubt not at Liao Juanji. This youth had just sealed an abyss rift. Instead of claiming his tremendous reward, he insisted on pursuing the Wang clan. Even a personal grudge would hardly prompt such reckless accusations. The Wang old ancestor was a peak, ranked late, life martial emperor who had weathered countless crises. Only one explanation made sense. The Wang clan really was tainted. If what you say holds truth, Liao Juanji said gravely, this matter carries enormous ramifications. It must be reported to Marshal Sage Yao Zheng. Chu Yun said indifferently. A single aging martial emperor does not warrant disturbing our principle. Liao Juanji's eyelid twitched. An aging martial emperor? This young man's arrogance knew no bounds. Yet when he recalled what Chu Yun had just accomplished, sealing an abyss rift alone and cutting off a demon clan martial emperor's hand, his boast no longer sounded entirely absurd. Liao Juanji drew a deep breath, forcing himself back to rational thought. 30 years in the military have taught me a fair amount about the Wang old ancestor. This centennial birthday banquet is about far more than celebration. He chose Tianjin as the venue because it was here, 30 years ago, that he broke through to martial emperor rank. He may well have already advanced to martial sage. That is why this must be escalated. Horror washed over the female officer's features. If the Wang old ancestor truly became a martial sage while allied with the demon clan, she left the sentence unfinished, yet the implication hung heavy in the air. A demon, aligned martial sage would pose a threat comparable to an unleashed abyss rift, capable of overwhelming the northern defense lines. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of Chu Yun's mouth. No need. No need. Liao Juanji raised his voice. Young man, do you grasp what you are saying? A martial sage, not some trivial nobody you might chance upon on the street. Even after sealing the rift and defeating a martial emperor, the gap between martial emperor and martial sage is immense. I understand. Chu Yun cut him off. The principal left a contingency measure for me long ago. Silence crashed over them once more. Liao Juanji's words died in his throat. Both martial honor, ranked officers gaped in utter astonishment. A contingency measure? What kind of contingency could counter a martial sage? The principal, Yao Zheng? Yao Zheng had prepared means for his student to stand against a martial sage? That spoke of extraordinary favor. Countless possibilities raced through their minds, yet none dared ask for specifics. At such lofty power levels, some truths were better left unknown. Very well. Liao Juanji made up his mind with a heavy breath. Since you hold such a trump card, I shall not stand in your way. Still, going alone is far too dangerous. We accompany you. We will proceed exactly as you suggested, officially investigate the demon clan incursion inside Yinqing's secret zone. As garrison commander, I have full authority to summon relevant persons for questioning. Arriving under the banner of an official investigation gives us complete legitimacy. Chu Yun weighed the idea. He did need valid grounds to approach the Wang old ancestor. Charging straight into the birthday banquet and shouting for all to hear that the Wang old ancestor served the demons would be embarrassingly clumsy. Agreed. That shall be our plan. Before departing, Chu Yun flicked out a wisp of Samadhi true fire onto the severed giant demonic hand. The four figures soared up into the sky. The dark, red celestial glow behind them slowly faded, and Yinqing's secret zone sank back into quiet stillness. Tianjin, on the banks of the High River. The Queen's Hotel stood within Tianjin's bustling financial district. 88 stories tall, with a helicopter landing pad atop its roof, it ranked among Tianjin's most iconic landmarks. Starting from 3 in the afternoon, traffic control was enforced along all main roads leading toward the hotel. Wang clan security guards in black suits stood posted every 50 meters, checking invitation credentials for every passing vehicle. 100-meter red carpet stretched across the fountain plaza out front, flanked by rows upon rows of flower baskets bearing congratulatory inscriptions from powerful figures across Longwa's martial arts world. Congratulations to old ancestor Wang on his 100th birthday. May your martial path flourish eternally. May fortune flow as boundless as the eastern sea. The hotel lobby had been converted into a temporary reception hall. 20-odd tall, elegant hostesses in Cheongsams stood by the entrance. Presents piled high behind the reception desk, antique scrolls, porcelain, jade artifacts, century-old fine wine, even heaven-grade cultivation manuals. The Wang clan clerk recording gifts wrote until his hand ached, though his smile only grew brighter. Household Zhou, Southern Jiangnan Province. 1 martial honor, ranked magical beast crystal core. Sichuan, Southern Martial Arts Association. 1 stock of 100-year-old glossy Ganoderma. Longwa Swordsmanship Association, Earth, grade high, rank sword manual yellow cloud sword cannon. Every announced gift drew quiet gasps from onlookers. Any single one of these treasures would take an ordinary martial artist an entire lifetime to earn. Hotel top floor, presidential suite. Wang clan old ancestor Wang Tianda stood behind floor-to-ceiling windows gazing down upon the steady stream of guests and vehicles below. Though exactly 100 years old, he appeared scarcely more than 60. Square-jawed, with sharp, thick eyebrows, his silver hair was combed into a neat slick-back style. He wore a tailored white tang suit embroidered with golden 5-blessing longevity patterns at collar and cuffs, fastened by a flawless white jade waist sash. Behind him stood Wang Guanfu, current head of the Wang clan, plus several core clan elders. Old ancestor, 130, 7 households have sent representatives, Wang Guanfu said, glancing down his guest register. Household Li sent clan head Li Songhai. As for Household Lu, he paused, tone turning grim. Household Lu only dispatched a distant branch elder. Neither Lu Qingxue nor their clan head came in person. Wang Tianda did not turn his head, eyes still fixed on the view outside. Hardly unexpected, Wang Zaikai perished within the secret zone, and the truth behind his death remains unsolved, Wang Guanfu said, barely containing simmering anger. Instead of cooperating with inquiries, Household Lu obstructs our efforts at every turn. I firmly believe Household Lu bears responsibility for Kai Er's passing. Enough. Wang Tianda shot him one sharp glance. Wang Guanfu's voice cut off instantly. Cold sweat beaded across his forehead, and he stumbled half a step backward. Today marks my birthday banquet. Put aside feuds and grievances, Wang Tianda stated. Household Lu's absence is their loss. Not everyone merits attendance at the centennial celebration of a martial emperor. Wang Guanfu bowed his head, repeatedly assenting. Wang Tianda returned his gaze to the distant horizon, his sight reaching all the way toward the capital city. Chu Yun. That name had rankled in his mind these past few days, an irritant he could neither swallow nor spit out. Wang Zaikai had died inside the Kanglin's secret zone, yet Chu Yun and Lu Qingxue had returned safely. 2 days later, Chu Yun had comprehended the sword insight of martial Emperor Qinzhan. Were these events connected? Wang Tianda could not know for certain, but a full century of life had taught him that few coincidences were truly accidental. He trusted power above all else. Once this banquet concluded, he would leak intelligence on Chu Yun to the Demon Clan and let them eliminate this dangerous thorn. Old ancestor, the hour draws near, Wang Guanfu reminded him. All guests have arrived. The banquet ought to commence. Wang Tianda adjusted his collar and strode for the doorway. Let us go. Hotel 60, 6th floor, Grand Banquet Hall. The vast hall spanned over 5,000 square meters beneath a 10-meter, high-domed ceiling hung with 3 enormous crystal chandeliers flooding the space with brilliant light. Hundreds of guests had already assembled. Men wore formal dark suits. Women dazzled in colorful evening gowns bedecked with jewels. The air carried a blend of fine perfume and cigar smoke. Waiters weaved through crowds carrying trays of vintage champagne and delicate finger foods. Wang Tianda advanced along the red carpet toward the main rostrum at the hall's center. Every guest stood to their feet, thunderous applause erupting throughout the room. Old ancestor Wang, honored elder, may you enjoy longevity matching the southern mountains. Shouts rose from every direction. Wang Tianda ascended the rostrum and stood before the microphone. Every person who met his gaze instinctively straightened their posture. Applause faded, and deep silence fell across the banquet hall. Wang Tianda began speaking. His voice was not loud, yet it carried clearly to every corner of the huge room. Dear guests, I am deeply grateful for you traveling such distances to attend. I turn 100 years old this year. 100 years pass in the blink of an eye. I began martial arts training at age 8. I attained martial master at 25, grandmaster at 30, martial honor at 50, and martial emperor at 70. 90. 2 years I have walked this martial path. Complete quiet reigned. No soul dared interrupt. Over those 92 years, I lived through Longwa's most turbulent eras. Time and again I stood upon front-line battlefields, spilling blood fighting the demon clan. These very hands of mine have slain countless magical beasts. Countless demons have fallen beneath my spear. 172 scars mark my body, each earned through a fight for survival. 30 years ago right here in Tianjin, I slew a martial honor, ranked abyss magical beast. That battle left me gravely wounded. My vitality nearly burned out, and my dantian stood on the verge of shattering. Against all odds I survived, and broke through to martial emperor. He paused, his gaze drifting far away as if transported back to that blood-soaked night decades past. For 30 years I have pondered one question. What lies at the very end of the martial path? Is it strength? Authority? Immortality? 30 years of contemplation have finally brought me understanding. He lifted his head, sharp glint flashing within his aged eyes. The end of martial arts lies in transcending yourself. Surpass your limits, climb ever higher, and etch your name permanently into the annals of Longwa's martial arts history. The hall burst into deafening applause. Well said. Honored elder speaks great truth. Transcend yourself. Magnificent words. Wang Tianda surveyed the crowd swept up in fervent admiration. A flicker of unnoticeable triumph glinted in his old eyes. 100 years he had waited for this moment. Family, status, power, glory, all were his now. Only one final milestone remained, becoming a martial sage. Ascend to martial sage, and his name would endure forever in Longwa's martial arts records, revered by generations yet unborn. A faint smile tugged at Wang Tianda's lips. He lifted the wine cup resting on the table before him. Dear guests, I raise a toast to you all. I thank you for your years of support and faith in the Wang clan. The Wang clan shall march toward ever greater glory. Cheers! Cheers! Hundreds of guests lifted their cups and drank deep. Wang Tianda set down his goblet, sweeping his eyes over the assembly. A satisfied, triumphant smile rested on his face. At this instant, he was the center of Longwa's martial arts world, the figure everyone looked up to. He reveled in that feeling. Just as he prepared to deliver closing remarks. Bang! The banquet hall doors exploded inward as someone kicked them wide open. Bang! Inside the banquet hall, hundreds of guests turned their heads toward the entrance at the same time. Who would be bold enough to crash Wang Tianda's centennial birthday feast? Outside the hall, the long shadow of a figure stretched across the gray marble, tiled floor. The newcomer was a young man of 18 or 19. Dressed in a black tracksuit, he kept both hands in his pockets, his face wearing an unruffled, casual expression. 3 people followed behind him. One was a middle-aged man in a dark, blue military uniform, golden general stars glinting on his shoulders. He had a square jaw, thick brows and large eyes, his whole body radiating the terrifying aura of a martial emperor, ranked powerhouse. The other 2, a man and a woman, wore military uniforms. Both stood at the peak of martial venerable rank, weapons hanging from their waists. Who goes there? How dare you barge into the Wang clan's birthday banquet? You are asking for death. Several Wang clan guards rushed out from the crowd and blocked the 4, right hands resting on the hilts of their blades, ready to strike at any moment. The youth paid them no heed and stepped into the hall. The 3 behind him followed, keeping a one-body length distance. The captain of the guard's face darkened with rage as he shouted, "Halt! Take one more step forward, and do not blame us for being ruthless." The young man stopped. He lifted his gaze to meet the guard captain's eyes. With nothing but a single glance, the captain's face blanched instantly. Cold sweat broke out across his forehead, and his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. He tried to draw his blade, yet his fingers refused to obey. He tried to step back, but his feet felt nailed to the ground, unable to move an inch. Spiritual pressure of a thought venerable. The guard captain was only a grandmaster. Before a thought venerable, he was less than an ant. Inside the banquet hall, hundreds of guests fell completely silent. Every pair of eyes locked onto the young man. Someone recognized him. Chu Yun. It's Chu Yun, the top-ranking martial arts student from Kyoto Martial University. Why is he here? And he kicked the door down? What is the meaning of this? I have no idea, judging by his attitude. He means trouble. Whispers rippled through the crowd, like a stone tossed into a once calm lake, sending outward, spreading waves of murmurs. Wang Guanfu hurried to the front of the crowd, his face as dark as the sky before a storm. His gaze landed on the young man, a cold flicker of killing intent deep within his pupils. Chu Yun, the man who had killed his son Wang Zikai, the person he had been searching for this whole time, had unexpectedly walked right into his trap. And he had chosen this very day, the centennial birthday of their clan elder, to do it. This was an open slap in the face. A public humiliation for the Wang clan, witnessed by the entire Dragon Nation martial arts circle. Chu Yun, what are you doing here? I have come to offer birthday congratulations, of course. Chu Yun glanced over at him, then cupped one fist in the other toward Wang Tianda. I wish the Wang clan elder a long and happy life reaching 100 years. May you live to be 100. Under ordinary circumstances, those words would be a blessing. Spoken today, they were the cruelest curse of all. Wang Tianda was already 100 years old. Living to 100 implied that his life would end on this very day. He was openly telling the Wang elder he would not survive the banquet. Wang Guanfu's face turned livid. He clenched his right fist so tightly his knuckles creaked. You seek death. He took one large step forward, and the chi and blood pressure of an early-stage martial emperor erupted with a thunderous roar. Dark, red shockwaves burst outward from his body, shaking every table and chair in the hall violently. Chu Yun did not spare Wang Guanfu a single glance. His gaze remained fixed firmly on Wang Tianda, seated on the main platform. Their eyes clashed in mid-air. One youth, 18 years old, early, stage martial venerable. One centenarian, peak, stage martial emperor. Age, cultivation level, and experience were worlds apart. Yet in the young man's eyes there was no fear, no hesitation. Only quiet, unshakable resolve. Wang Tianda's brows drew together slightly. Having lived 100 years, he had seen countless genius prodigies and arrogant hotheads. But never before had anyone kicked his banquet door down and openly wished him dead on his birthday. This was the first time. What troubled Wang Tianda far more, however, was Liao Juanji, standing behind Chu Yun. As the garrison commander of Yinqing's secret realm, his appearance at this birthday feast at such a moment filled him with hidden suspicion. A dark, concealed glint of malice flashed deep in Wang Tianda's eyes. Had the demonfolk's plan failed? Even if it had, 3 powerful demonfolk experts had been dispatched. Could they not hold off one martial emperor? He had long struck a deal with the demonfolk. After the rift opened, their full-scale invasion was scheduled to begin tomorrow. Tonight he intended to enjoy his birthday celebration first. No matter whether the demonfolk succeeded or failed, Liao Juanji should not have appeared here. Young man, I do not recall sending you an invitation, Wang Tianda said. You entered uninvited and kicked down my door. You are showing remarkably poor manners. Commander Liao, would you not agree? Liao Juanji stepped forward and gave a formal salute. Elder Wang, this young man acted without thought and has caused disturbance. I ask for your forbearance. Disturbance. Wang Tianda laughed, yet no warmth lingered in his smile. He kicked down my clan's gate, and before hundreds of guests wished me a long life of 100 years. And you call that a mere disturbance? Liao Juanji's expression did not shift. I have come today to investigate the invasion incident at Yinqing's secret realm. Yinqing's secret realm? Wang Tianda's frown deepened. That is a military affairs matter. What does it have to do with me? According to reliable intelligence, members of the Wang clan are suspected of colluding with the demon folk, secretly aiding their hidden agents to infiltrate Yinqing's secret realm. The moment those words fell, an uproar swept through the banquet hall. Colluding with the demon folk? That cannot be true. The Wang clan has stood as a great house for 300 years. How could they betray humanity? Exactly. Has Liao Juanji made a mistake? A mistake? Would he storm in like this if he were uncertain? What on earth is going on? Wang Tianda's expression finally changed. On his well-maintained face, loose skin twitched faintly, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes deepened. According to his original plan, after tonight's birthday banquet the demon folk would launch their full-scale attack tomorrow. Once that happened, he would hold 2 paths open to himself. On one hand, he could step forward to lead the gathered guests against the demon folk, securing his position as the leading figure defending the Tianjin defensive line. On the other, he could flee overseas amid the chaos and watch Dragon Nation tear itself apart from safety. Now, however, Liao Juanji had kicked down his door and, before hundreds of witnesses, leveled the accusation of collusion with the demon folk directly at him. Wang Tianda's gaze moved past Liao Juanji and landed on Chu Yun. From his cloudy old eyes, killing intent seeped outward like venom from a snake. This brat had slain his great-grandson Wang Zikai, and now he had brought disaster crashing down upon his birthday feast. Wang Tianda drew a deep breath, suppressing the turbulent rage rising inside him. He must not lose his composure. In critical moments, one could not afford to panic. A crafty old fox after 100 years of life, he quickly regained his calm. A warm, grandfatherly smile returned to his face. Commander Liao, today marks my 100-year birthday, with guests filling this hall. It is a day of celebration. Could this matter not wait until tomorrow? I give you my word. Tomorrow morning, I shall travel in person to the Yinqing Secret Realm military outpost and fully cooperate with your investigation. As his words ended, voices of agreement rose up around the hall. Yes, it is a joyous occasion. Cannot this affair wait one more day? A figure of Elder Wang's standing would never run away. Surely you could grant him some respect on his 100-year birthday? Liao Juanji fell silent. He looked toward Wang Tianda. A centenarian elder, accused of colluding with the demon folk in front of everyone at his own birthday celebration, was now offering to submit to investigation. To tell the truth, a flicker of hesitation stirred inside him. It was not Wang Tianda's convincing performance that moved him, but his full awareness of how heavy the charge of colluding with demon folk truly was. This was no ordinary accusation. If proven true, 300 years of the Wang clan's heritage would crumble to dust overnight. Liao Juanji glanced subtly toward Chu Yun. His silent message was plain enough. Are we being too harsh? Perhaps we ought to wait one day. Chu Yun stepped closer and lowered his voice, speaking quietly enough for only Liao Juanji to hear. Commander Liao, have you forgotten that the Academy principal is still holding the northern border wall? Those words struck Liao Juanji like a bucket of ice. cold water poured over his head. His pupils constricted sharply. The abyss rift along the northern border wall had opened, and millions of demonfolk warriors waited ready to march. If he backed down today, it would already be far too late to arrest Wang Tianda tomorrow. One single day would give him more than enough time to plunge the whole of Northern Dragon Nation into chaos. Cold sweat broke out across Liao Juanji's back. He drew a deep breath and hesitated no longer. Raising his head, his gaze sharpened like a blade as he fixed his eyes on Wang Tianda. Elder Wang, duty binds me. I cannot afford delay. I ask that you cooperate with our investigation. At that instant, the air turned solid and heavy. Complete silence descended on the banquet hall. Every guest stared with wide, open eyes, looking first at Liao Juanji, then at Wang Tianda. They waited to hear the Wang elder's reply. Wang Tianda's face sank completely. The warmth in his cloudy old eyes faded little by little, replaced by icy, grim hostility. For 50 years he had ruled as the Wang clan elder, across a full century of life. Never before had anyone dared reject his goodwill so openly. Never. Liao Juanji, Wang Tianda spoke. His voice was not loud, yet it landed on every heart like a heavy boulder. I offered you a chance. Since you have chosen to reject it, do not blame me for showing no mercy in return. He lifted his right hand and waved it gently. Guanfu, see them out. Yes, ancestor. Wang Guanfu swept his gaze across the four intruders, cold, killing intent glinting in his eyes. The four of you, please leave. Chuyan stood his ground. The other three did not move either. Seeing this, Wang Guanfu unleashed his suppressed power once more. Dark, red qi, and blood shockwaves rippled outward from him. Wine cups resting on servers' trays shattered and clattered across the floor. His right hand closed around empty air, and a pitch, black spear materialized in his grip. He thrust forward, the spear tip tearing through the air, aiming straight for Chu Yun's throat. How dare you? The two military officers roared in unison, stepping to Chu Yun's defense, one on his left and one on his right. The full power of their peak, stage martial venerable qi, and blood pressure burst forth without restraint. The female officer flicked her right wrist, and her silver, white spear slid down from her back into her palm. She twirled the spear tip, creating a silver blossom of light, and parried Wang Guanfu's Pajuan spearhead on. Her male counterpart drew his black long blade immediately after her. Cold, frigid glimmers ran along the blade's edge, and he slashed sideways, striking toward Wang Guanfu's ribs. The two fought in seamless coordination. The female officer's spear work was fluid and swift, her weapon striking like a serpent's darting tongue. Dozens of silver spear shadows bloomed from her tip, blocking every direct avenue of attack for Wang Guanfu. The male officer's swordplay was heavy, steady, and ruthless, every cut aimed at vital weak points and forcing Wang Guanfu to divert his attention to defense. In an instant, all three were locked in furious combat. Spear shadows and sword, light crossed, sending out a rapid string of clashing metal sounds. Tables splintered and dishes flew through the air. Guests screamed and scrambled backward, pressing themselves against the two sides of the hall. Wang Guanfu is incredibly strong. He is holding his own against two opponents at once. He is, after all, the current head of the Wang clan, an early, stage martial emperor, unmatched among warriors of his rank. Those two officers are skilled too, both peak, stage martial venerables. Their weapons are simply inferior. Judging from the flow of battle, the two officers are going to lose soon. After 100 exchanges of blows, the gap between their cultivation realms grew impossible to ignore. Wang Guanfu spotted an opening. One spear thrust sent the female officer staggering 3 steps backward. He then swung his spear horizontally, smashing it hard against the male officer's long blade. The impact sent shock, waves numbing all the way up his arm, and he retreated 5 paces. Is that all the strength you have? You dare come and stir trouble inside my Wang clan's home? Wang Guanfu sneered, and the speed of his spearwork suddenly accelerated. Blue lightning crackled around the spear tip, electric arcs hissing and leaping. Pajuan, a lightning slash. Wang Guanfu shouted, shoving his spear forward with full force. The blue lightning transformed into the shape of a blue dragon, surging toward the female and male officers. Their faces paled, and they threw themselves desperately to either side. Boom! The dragon-shaped lightning exploded. Violent shockwaves swept outward, hurling every table and chair across the hall. The female officer was lifted off her feet by the blast, spun twice in mid-air, and crashed heavily onto the ground, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The male officer fared little better. He staggered backward 7 or 8 steps after landing before steadying himself, his sword, holding right hand trembling. At the sight, Liao Juanji moved in an instant. His figure glided like a phantom into the fighting circle. He drew his long blade and slashed toward Wang Guanfu. Wang Guanfu's pupils shrank. He brought his Pejuan spear horizontally to block. Clang! The two powerful warriors clashed, locked in combat. Chu Yun now stood without any immediate bodyguard defense. From his seat on the main platform, Wang Tianda's cloudy eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. Now was the moment. This was the opening he had been waiting for. Ever since Chu Yun kicked open the banquet door, Wang Tianda had bided his time, waiting until Liao Juanji moved away from the young man's side. This century, Old Fox understood better than anyone the principle of striking first at the leader of the enemy. The youth standing in the center of the hall was the true mastermind of today's disturbance. Liao Juanji was merely his weapon. If he crippled Chu Yun, Liao Juanji would lose his justification to remain inside the banquet hall and press the investigation. As for the military inquiry, once this trouble-making youth was neutralized, he would find countless ways to send Liao Juanji away empty-handed. Chu Yun was not officially part of the military. There would be no serious consequences for injuring him. This would serve as a brutal warning of the Wang clan's wrath to everyone present. Wang Tianda curled the fingers of his right hand together. A wisp of pitch-black sinister qi gathered in his palm, quickly condensing into a needle as thin as a strand of hair. He flicked his finger. A sharp sound cut through the air. The needle became an almost invisible black streak, shooting straight for Chu Yun's dantian with ruthless, pinpoint accuracy. By the time Liao Juanji noticed what had happened, it would already be too late to rush back and intervene. A cruel smile tugged at the corner of Wang Tianda's mouth. Chu Yun's gaze sharpened. From the very moment he had stepped through the door, his eyes had never truly left Wang Tianda. This elder was the only person inside the hall capable of posing a fatal threat to him. He had watched every subtle movement the old man made. At last, he had chosen to strike. Chu Yun prepared to unleash his flash step ability. Then, from behind him, a beam of sword light shot into the hall from the doorway, shattering the incoming black needle mid-flight. The instant the needle shattered, a clear, ringing sword cry echoed through the banquet hall, resonant as a dragon's roar or phoenix's cry, thrumming against every person's eardrums. All eyes turned toward the entrance. An elderly man wearing a deep, blue silk robe stood framed in the doorway, sword in hand. Zhao Qinquan, president of the Dragon Nation Sword Arts Association, head of the Zhao clan, a peak, stage martial emperor. Close behind him, Zhao Yuli stepped into the banquet hall. Her eyes instantly locked onto the young man dressed in black sportswear in the center of the room. Only after confirming Chu Yun was completely unharmed did the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. Old Monster Wang. Zhao Qinquan's voice was not loud, yet it carried clearly to every corner of the hall. At 100 years of age, you launch a sneak attack against a junior. Would you not be the laughing stock of the martial arts world once word spreads? Murderous rage burned in Wang Tianda's eyes. First Liao Juanji, then Zhao Yuli, both appearing unexpectedly inside his banquet. This proved beyond doubt that every part of his scheme at Yinqing's secret realm had collapsed. He no longer cared to work out exactly where his plans had gone wrong. The demon folk had agreed to delay their attack until after his birthday celebration. Yet these insignificant humans had dared to rise up against him first. He would not rest until every last one of them lay dead. Every single one of you who has come here today, not a soul shall walk out of this banquet hall alive. Zhao Qinquan stepped forward, his gaze sharp as a blade. What your Wang clan did at Yinqing's secret realm was unspeakably cruel. It is only fortune that has turned against you. Rage boiled visibly in Wang Tianda's cloudy eyes. Very well, very well, very well. Zhao Qinquan, since you are so eager to die, I shall grant your wish first. No sooner had the words left his mouth than Wang Tianda's right hand closed around empty air. A pure, white spear materialized in his grasp. He surged forward in one step, ripples of visible lightning spreading out across the floor beneath his feet. Moving faster than lightning itself, he charged into the center of the hall, his silver spear wreathed in black lightning as he lunged forward. Zhao Qinquan's pupils contracted. A sharp, overwhelming sword, intent burst forth from his blade, tearing an opening through Wang Tianda's crushing qi and blood pressure. Then he thrust his sword forward, the tip striking precisely against the tip of Wang Tianda's spear. Ding! Sparks sprayed out in all directions. A violent shockwave exploded outward from the point of impact, hurling tables and chairs flying in every direction, while dishes shattered in a constant cascade of noise. Both combatants took one step backward. The Windslaughter sword? Wang Tianda's face darkened, and he let out a cold snort. Zhao Qianquan, do you truly believe wielding a sacred weapon guarantees you victory against me? You are deluding yourself. Wang Tianda altered his spear technique. His spear spun fluidly in his grip. Dozens of black spear shadows bloomed outward from the tip, stabbing toward Zhao Qianquan from every possible direction. Each spear shadow crackled with coils of black lightning. Thousand Shadow Lightning Spear. Zhao Qianquan dared not underestimate the assault. He spun the Windslaughter sword rapidly in his hand. A long, glowing stream of sword light circled around his body, weaving an impenetrable defensive web. Clang, 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 clang. Blade and spear met again and again, bursts of blazing sparks erupting between the two warriors. The hundreds of guests watching from the sides stared in stunned amazement. A battle between two peak-stage martial emperors was a sight rarely witnessed. Even more remarkable, the fighters were the heads of two of the four great noble clans, the Wang and the Zhao. Zhao Qianquan's sword speed is incredible. The Windslaughter sword feels almost alive in his hands. Wang Tianda is no weaker. Even at 100 years old, his spearwork remains ferocious. I would have been run through long ago. The sacred weapon Windslaughter lives up to its reputation. Even from dozens of meters away, its sword intent sends shivers down my spine. A fine reputation counts for nothing. Can you not see it? Wang Tianda is gradually pressing Zhao Qianquan onto the defensive. While every eye remained fixed on the duel between the two martial emperors, Zhao Yuli hurried over to Chu Yun's side. Are you hurt? Chu Yun shook his head. Why have you come? After we parted, I contacted my father at once. Zhao Yuli lowered her voice and quickly recounted everything that had happened. I told him the full story of what unfolded in Yanqing's secret realm. He flew into a towering rage. He immediately petitioned the clan's elder to bring forth the sacred weapon, Windslaughter. A sacred weapon? Chu Yun raised one eyebrow slightly in surprise. Zhao Yuli nodded, a hint of pride in her tone. Hundreds of years ago, my Zhao clan's founding ancestor wielded the Windslaughter sword to slay an abyss lord of martial saint rank on the battlefield against the demon folk. That single victory earned our clan a place among the four great noble houses. With the Windslaughter sword in his grasp, my father will definitely defeat Wang Tianda. Chu Yun said nothing. His gaze stayed fixed on the battle raging in the center of the hall. The fight was not unfolding as Zhao Yuli had hoped. Zhao Qianquan's heart grew heavier with every exchange of blows. With the sacred Windslaughter sword boosting his power by at least 30%, he should have easily defeated a centenarian elder, whose Kaian blood vitality was supposed to be waning near the end of his lifespan. Yet Wang Tianda showed no signs of frailty whatsoever. His Kaian blood flowed deep and boundless as an ocean. Every spear thrust carried overwhelming, crushing force that sent painful vibrations up Zhao Qianquan's wrists. His movement was eerily unpredictable, darting left, right, forward and backward like a phantom impossible to track. Most alarming of all, Zhao Qianquan detected a strange, inhuman energy woven into Wang Tianda's spear strikes. That energy felt cold, savage, and carried a foul, rotten stench that turned his stomach. Abyssal demonic chi. Zhao Qianquan's heart sank to its lowest point. At last, his worst fears were confirmed. Wang Tianda had truly defected to the demon folk. Not only had the demon folk granted him a means to extend his lifespan, they had also bestowed upon him power far exceeding the ordinary limits of a peak-stage martial emperor. That explained how an old man on the verge of death could unleash such terrifying strength. Zhao Qianquan gritted his teeth. He could afford to delay no longer. The longer this dragged on, the more his ki blood would drain, and the greater Wang Tianda's advantage would become. He had to finish this fight quickly. Deep within his dantian, a tiny silver sword emerged. It was his life-bound flying sword, forged after his sword pellet had transformed. He had nurtured it for 40 years and never once revealed it to anyone. Today was the day to draw it. Wang Tianda stepped forward, ready to deliver the final blow. All his attention was fixed on Zhao Qianquan. Now was the moment. Zhao Qianquan's eyes sharpened as he raised his sword to block the myriad June spear. Go! His life-bound flying sword shot out from his mouth. It moved so fast the naked eye could not track it. A strange, twisted smirk tugged at the corner of Wang Tianda's mouth. The next second, two arms sprouted without warning from beneath his armpits. The arms were pitch black, their skin covered in fine, dense scales. Clap! His new arms clapped together, catching the flying sword barehanded. Then he bore down hard. Crack! The life-bound flying sword shattered. Zhao Qianquan's pupils shrank sharply. What? Wang Tianda burst into wild, maniacal laughter. Zhao Qianquan, did you think you were the only one with a hidden ace? He spun around, his conqueror spear surging with violent, demonic energy, and thrust it forward. Zhao Qianquan instinctively lifted his sword to block. Clang! The Windslaughter sword was sent flying. It spun through the air before embedding itself in a pillar of the great hall, its blade humming with vibration. Unimpeded, the myriad June spear pierced Zhao Qianquan's protective chi barrier and drove straight through his right shoulder. Blood gushed out. Zhao Qianquan toppled backward and crashed heavily onto the floor. Father! Zhao Yueli cried out and started rushing toward him. Chu Yun grabbed her arm, his gaze locked firmly on Wang Tianda. Every eye in the hall was fixed on the extra arms sprouting from Wang Tianda's armpits. Those arms were no martial skill or cultivated technique. They were demonic energy. Pure, unadulterated abyss demonic energy. Wah! Ancestor Wang has truly sided with the demon race. What is that thing? Demonic energy. That's abyss demonic energy. Old Ancestor Wang is a hidden agent of the demons. Bang! Chaos erupted throughout the hall. Guests near the doorway spun around and tried to flee. Has no one permission to leave before this old man's birthday feast is finished? Wang Tianda's voice had changed, resonating with the deep, rumbling timbre unique to abyss fiends. This feast ends only when I say it ends. He drew a deep breath, his chest swelling high. Then, a terrifying aura exploded out of his body. It crashed down like a towering mountain, sweeping across the entire hall. Guests who had nearly reached the doors felt an invisible hand clamp around their throats. Their bodies stiffened instantly before they toppled rigidly to the ground. Hundreds of guests in the great hall were pinned beneath the oppressive force. Liao Juanji, the two military officers, and Chu Yun unleashed their full ki-blood, barely managing to carve out a small patch of ground to stand upon against the crushing pressure. Demonic energy surged out of Wang Tianda like an evil spirit crawled up from hell, shrouding the whole hall. Zhao Qianquan knelt on one knee, propping himself up with his palm. Demonic energy had begun to corrupt his shoulder wound, turning his blood thick and black. He gritted his teeth and lifted his gaze toward the gaunt figure standing at the center of the hall. Wang Tianda, have you lost your mind? All these people are your comrades, your old acquaintances. Old acquaintances? Wang Tianda looked down haughtily at Zhao Qianquan. I have lived 100 years. All I have witnessed is life and death. What old acquaintances? They are nothing but living tombstones. Liao Juanji stared furiously at Wang Tianda, his lips almost bleeding from how hard he bit them. Will you not strike yet? His shout sent shockwaves rippling through the room. Though pinned and immobile, the guests on the ground could still hear. They clung to those words like a lifeline. Eyes darted frantically around the hall. Even the ki-blood pressure unleashed by Wang Tianda loosened slightly after that roar. For Liao Juanji to shout those words meant a hidden, game-changing powerhouse stood among them. At minimum, a peak martial emperor. Perhaps even a martial saint? Who could it be? Wang Tianda's cloudy pupils narrowed, wariness flashing across his eyes. His forearms spread slightly as his peak martial emperor perception swept over every corner of the hall. Beams, curtains, side doors, floor-to-ceiling windows, even the ventilation vents in the corners, nothing escaped his search. Yet he found nothing. No one inside the great hall posed a genuine threat to him. You need not look any further. Chu Yun stepped forward, the hem of his black tracksuit fluttering violently against the overwhelming ki-blood pressure. It is me. Zhao Yueli's head snapped upward, her eyes wide with disbelief as she stared at him. Liao Juanji's mouth twitched, and he muttered under his breath. Kid, do you have to show off this badly? Every guest's pupils dilated at the exact same moment. What? Chu Yun, an 18-year-old university freshman? Is that whom Guardian Liao was referring to? Even Zhao Qianquan could not last 3 moves against him. Is he walking to his death? He's lost his senses. Wang Tianda's brows furrowed deeply into a frown. You? A mere early-stage martial venerable? If you intend to bluff, at least make it convincing? A faint smile tugged at Chu Yun's lips. Spirit power at soul venerable rank flooded outward, clashing against Wang Tianda's oppressive ki-blood force in the air. Tiny crackling sparks burst forth, like ice meeting flame. A soul venerable. Surprise tinged Wang Tianda's voice before it hardened into contempt. No wonder you can withstand my pressure. However, that is the full extent of your power. Today I shall show you what true despair feels like. What a real hidden trump card looks like. Wang Tianda stopped holding back. His extra arms spread wide. Black, swirling demonic vortexes formed in the center of each palm. The vortexes spun faster and faster, thrumming with a deep, low roar, like engines pushed to their absolute limit. Twisted black markings surfaced across his skin, like dark veins spreading from his chest to every limb. His muscles bulged, and his bones emitted sharp, popping cracks. In the next instant, demonic energy detonated outward. Cracks snaked across the domed ceiling of the hall, loose rubble showering down onto the pinned guests, yet no one dared utter a sound. An aura surpassing the limits of a martial emperor rolled outward like a tidal wave. Martial saint. Every person's pupils shrank to pinpricks. Liao Juanji's atoms apple-bobbed. A demonic martial saint could crush an entire military battalion in a single charge. And now such an adversary stood right before him, inside the Queen's Hotel in Tianjin, deep within the heartland of Dragon Country. Wang Tianda's aura kept climbing without slowing. Early-stage martial saint, mid-stage martial saint, peak-stage martial saint. No one in the hall could form a complete sentence. Fear washed over everyone like an icy tide, stealing their breath away. Peak martial saint. We are finished, completely finished. The Wang clan, old ancestor, demons, martial saint. Who can stop him? Wang Tianda glanced at the demonic scale-covered armor coating his forearms, then looked around at all the pale-faced faces in the hall and laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha. He spread his forearms wide and drew in a deep breath, savoring the scent of fear hanging thick in the air. 30 years. He had waited for this exact day for 30 long years. From the age of 70 when his cultivation stalled, to 80 when his ki blood began drying up, and finally 90 when his lifespan neared its end and sleepless nights plagued him. He had tried elixirs, secret arts, forbidden techniques, every possible method he could find. In the end, the abyss had given him an answer. Do you see this? Wang Tianda stretched his arms wide, as though embracing some supreme truth. This is the power granted by the abyss. Peak martial saint. Have any of you insignificant ants ever known what that power feels like? To watch your ki blood waste away day after day, to watch your cultivation stagnate, to watch your lifespan drain like sand slipping through an hourglass. And all the while you people spout empty wishes like, may Elder Wang enjoy boundless fortune and long life. Bah! I want none of your hollow blessings. What I crave is power. Immortality. He grew more frenzied as he spoke, waving his forearms wildly. Demonic energy swirled around him into a black cyclone, lifting broken tables and chairs high into the air. He stood at the center of the wreckage like a raving demon, his wild, shrill laughter echoing throughout the hall. Some guests clamped their hands over their ears, others wept quietly. Many lay flat on the floor, pretending to be dead, hoping it would spare them. Zhao Qianquan closed his eyes. His wounded shoulder still bled, and he no longer possessed the strength to fight. Liao Juanji stared hard at Chu Yun. Peak martial saint. This threat far exceeded his worst-case expectations. What hidden strength could possibly slay a peak-rank martial saint? No matter how hard he thought, he could find no answer. Wang Tianda's laughter slowly died away. He lifted all four arms, for pitch-black demonic vortexes swirling above his palms. Chu Yun, is your only ace that sole venerable spirit power? Chu Yun stood amid the wreckage. His right hand, which had been tucked inside his trouser pocket, slowly emerged. Resting in his palm was a palm-sized black jade talisman. He lifted his head and looked straight at Wang Tianda. No fear, no hesitation showed in his young eyes. He looked as if he were gazing at a man already dead. You chatter far too much. Chu Yun closed his fingers and crushed the heavenly blade talisman. A blade of light slipped silently out between his fingers, like moonlight spilling through a crack in the clouds, landing upon Wang Tianda. Wang Tianda's pupils froze, contracted to their absolute limit. His mouth remained frozen in the shape of his previous laugh. He tried to speak, yet no sound ever escaped. A hairline crack split his forehead. The fissure ran downward, slicing clean through his body like a precisely carved statue. No blood sprayed outward, no demonic energy dispersed. The moment his body split in two, both halves began melting from the edges like wax dropped into fire. The whole sequence took less than 3 seconds. A peak-stage martial saint demon agent had vanished entirely from the world. Nothing remained in his place except a pool of dark red liquid and a fist-sized black demon core. Dead silence filled the great hall. Standing closest to the scene, Liao Juanji had witnessed everything clearly. When that streak of blade light swept past him, every drop of blood in his veins turned ice cold. Azura Blade Chi. He had once watched the principal slice through a martial saint rank abyss overlord with a single strike on the northern border Great Wall. On that day, demon hordes retreated and mountains split apart beneath the blade's light. Liao Juanji's face flushed bright red, fiery excitement surging through him. That was Principal Yao's Azura Blade Chi. The female officer's jaw hung open in shock. Her eyes darted repeatedly between the puddle of dark red liquid and Chu Yun. A peak-stage martial saint, felled in one blow? She frantically searched her mind for a logical explanation. Yet no answer existed within everything she knew. She glanced toward the stern-faced male officer beside her. He still stood locked in a defensive stance, his body completely rigid. After a long pause, the stern male officer spoke. And that was the trump card. Zhao Yueli's eyes stretched wide. Her mind reeled. First, he had sent Wang Zikai flying with one punch outside the Kanglin's secret realm. Then he had claimed the thunder-balanced sword within the sword tomb. After that, he had instantly slain Wang Chongyuan inside the Yinqing secret realm. All of those events had already defied common sense. But now, a peak-stage martial saint had been killed with a single strike. Was he cheating the very rules of cultivation? What sort of monster have I gotten to know? Zhao Qianquan's eyes flew open. He had not seen that earth-shattering slash. He had only felt a cold gust brush his nose, like the sharp winter wind cutting across his cheeks. The overwhelming aura of a peak-stage martial saint was gone. At the center of the hall stood nothing but a young man with his hands tucked casually in his pockets. He blinked in total bewilderment. Where am I? What just happened? What is going on? Where is Wang Tianda? What exactly just took place? The stunned guests finally snapped out of their shock. Where is old ancestor Wang? Dead. Slain in one strike. I saw it. A flash of white light shot out from Chu Yun, and that was all. He was gone. Good heavens. That was a peak, rank martial saint. Gone in one blow. What on earth was that power? Who really is Chu Yun? I thought his arrival at the banquet was already shocking enough, but this was the real main event. Wang Guanfu stood off to one side, every ounce of strength drained from his limbs. He had watched his old ancestor get cut in half by that blade of light before melting into a puddle of blood. His ancestor was gone. Their peak, martial, saint ancestor was dead. The conqueror's spear slipped from his grasp and clattered against the floor. His legs buckled. His knees slammed hard into the rubble-strewn ground. He collapsed like a broken puppet amid the wreckage. This cannot be happening. No, it is impossible. Old ancestor, a peak, stage martial saint. How? One single strike, just like that. Wang Guanfu buried his face in his hands, his fingernails digging into his scalp. He curled himself into a ball on the floor. He kept muttering, impossible, and this cannot be real, over and over. His sanity was crumbling away bit by bit. Chu Yun glanced at him and spoke calmly. Guardian Liao, there is one remaining fugitive. He is all yours. Liao Juanji snapped back to his senses. His face still burned with excitement, yet his military training quickly took control. Understood. He waved his right hand. The two officers moved into action at once. The female officer sheathed her spear and pulled a set of alloy restraints from her belt. The stern-faced male officer strode behind Wang Guanfu, grabbed him by the shoulders, and hauled him upright. Wang Guanfu offered no resistance. Limp and lifeless, he was dragged to the center of the hall. Liao Juanji stood atop the wreckage, his voice steady and authoritative. Wang Tianda colluded with the Abyss demon race. Inside the Yinqing secret realm, he aided demon agents in opening an Abyss rift, plotting to undermine Dragon Country's northern defensive line. The evidence is conclusive. He has now paid for his crimes with his life. Wang Guanfu, current clan head of the Wang family, and a prime suspect in this conspiracy. He shall be detained and transferred to the Martial Administration Bureau for further investigation. He paused, sweeping his gaze over the hundreds of witnesses in the hall, his voice heavy and unyielding as iron. Everyone present today shall serve as witnesses. The Wang clan betrayed humanity and allied themselves with the Abyss. Their crimes are unforgivable. The Military and Martial Administration Bureau shall launch a full, thorough investigation. No culprit shall escape justice. Then he turned toward Chu Yun and stood to attention. His military boots clicked sharply together. He raised his right hand, fingers held straight, and offered a crisp, formal military salute. Liao Juanji, garrison commander of Yinqing, on behalf of Dragon Country's armed forces, offers Chu Yun my highest respect. Thank you for venturing alone into the Yinqing secret realm and sealing the Abyss rift. Thank you for your decisive action at this Tianjin birthday feast, eliminating the hidden demon agent and saving the lives of hundreds of fellow cultivators. The military shall remember this achievement. Dragon Country shall remember this achievement. Silence hung over the hall for a brief moment. Then thunderous applause erupted. Several guests struggled to their injured feet. Others wiped away tears as they clapped. Some shouted Chu Yun's name aloud. Cheers and applause merged together, shaking the hanging ceiling chandeliers. Well done. Brilliant work. Great job. Chu Yun. The future of Dragon Country. Humanity's hope. Chu Yun accepted their praise calmly, neither refusing nor offering unnecessary polite remarks. He simply gave a slight nod. A thought crossed his mind. A mere martial saint. A mere Wong clan. No, no, no. As the top student of the martial academy, he must not lose sight of his principles. That stray thought must have come from the bone spirit. Damn that bone spirit, still influencing me even after its death. All demons deserve to be destroyed. Yes, Chu Yun silently condemned the demons deep within his heart. Agents from the Martial Administration Bureau soon took charge of the crime scene. Hundreds of staff members wearing dark, blue uniforms streamed into the hall. They moved quickly to seal off the area and take statements from every witness. Every direct and extended member of the Wong clan was arrested one by one and escorted toward armored transport vehicles. The 300-year-old Wong clan had fallen in a single night. Liao Juanji walked over to Chu Yun, pulled the fist-sized black demon core from his robes, and held it out to him. This is the demon core left behind by Wang Tianda, a martial saint, rank Abyss Demon Core. This is an extremely valuable treasure. Meditating upon it could cut decades off your cultivation journey. However, it remains saturated with heavy demonic energy that risks corrupting your meridians. The inspection station in Yinqing possesses special purification equipment that can cleanse it completely within 1 week. Would you like me to arrange the purification process for you? Nice. An unexpected reward. Troublesome demonic energy? That was no problem for him at all. One glance from his giant-eyed spirit companion would purify it instantly. Chu Yun accepted the demon core and stored it inside his system storage space. Thank you. I can handle its purification myself. Liao Juanji was not surprised by his answer. Since Martial Saint Yao Zheng had given him the Heavenly Blade Talisman, purifying one demon core was a trivial matter. Your military merit points still require official verification. Rest assured, your reward will be no less than 1 million merit points. After today, you will no longer need to rush to earn resources. Haha. Chu Yun nodded. I appreciate all your trouble, Guardian Liao. Hey, no need for such formalities between us. Liao Juanji clapped him firmly on the shoulder. Drop the formal title of Guardian. It makes our relationship feel distant. You can call me Xiaoji from now on. Chu Yun. Is that really appropriate? You single-handedly defeated a peak-rank martial saint. Every martial, emperor, rank expert would treat you as their equal or superior. There is nothing inappropriate about it. Very well. You have a point. Xiaoji. Zhao Yueli helped Zhao Qianquan walk over toward them. A simple bandage had been wrapped around Zhao Qianquan's wounded right shoulder. Spiritual medicine had stopped the bleeding, yet his complexion remained pale. He stopped directly in front of Chu Yun and bowed deeply. Student Chu Yun. Zhao Qianquan's voice was weak yet solemn. Today you saved my life. Without that decisive strike of yours, disaster would have engulfed Tianjin and I would have lost my life here. Chu Yun shook his head. You give me too much credit, clan leader Zhao. Had you not fought first and forced Wang Tianda to reveal his true power, making him grow overconfident and lower his guard, my one-hit kill would never have succeeded. His words were honest. No matter how powerful the Heavenly Blade Talisman was, it still needed to hit its target. If Wang Tianda had remained cautious and ready to dodge from the very start, his incredible martial saint, peak speed and movement skills could very well have let him escape. If he had gotten away, all their sacrifices would have been for nothing. I risked half my life in battle and only managed to expose his hidden strength. The fatal blow belonged entirely to you. Zhao Qianquan shook his head with a bitter smile. The saying that each new generation surpasses the last may be old-fashioned. Yet after witnessing your power today, I admit complete defeat. He paused. First you saved Yueli's life, and now you have saved mine. The Zhao family now owes you 2 lives. Student Chu Yun, you simply must honor us with a visit to the Zhao Manor. Chu Yun thought for a moment. Though the Wang clan crisis was over, the demon race would never let this incident go unanswered. He needed to absorb all the rewards he had gained today before the demons could launch a counterattack. Additionally, he still held the jade pendant Zhao Yueli had given him. He planned to exchange it for a large batch of cultivation resources. He hoped to break through to the martial saint realm soon. I would be happy to accept your invitation. News of the Wang clan's birthday banquet spread rapidly across Dragon Country. Martial Administration Bureau and military joint announcement. Wang clan old ancestor Wang Tianda confirmed as hidden demon agent, executed in Tianjin. The Wang clan betrayed humanity and allied themselves with the Abyss demon race. What drove this shocking betrayal? Breaking news. Xu Yun's official statement. This conflict was not of my making. Wang Tianda struck first. Shocking. 18-year-old youth attends centenarian's birthday banquet and defeats the entire clan. Northern border Great Wall, command post. Snow had already begun falling across the region in August. Inside the front line command tent, a large brazier crackled with burning coals. Its warm orange light shone brightly over Jiang Wu's bald, shiny scalp. He held a newly delivered encrypted report, his expression shifting from seriousness to utter shock. Principal, have you finished reading it? Yao Zheng sat in the main seat, also holding a copy of the report. After finishing the final line, he slowly set the document down. He sipped his tea and fell silent for a long time. Wang Tianda publicly unleashed his demonic transformation, revealing peak, martial, saint power, and intending to slaughter hundreds of banquet guests. Xu Yun, top student of the martial academy, defeated him instantly through unknown means. He must have used the heavenly blade talisman I gave him. The heavenly blade talisman. Jiang Wu's facial muscles twitched. You gave away your 50-year, nurtured Azura blade. Chi to that young man. Yao Zheng nodded. Jiang Wu gasped sharply and slapped his thigh hard, making the teacups on the table rattle. That was your most precious final resort. Something you would never even give your own son. He is worthy of it. Yao Zheng's voice remained steady. Wang Tianda defected to the demon folk and forced a breakthrough to the peak of martial saint, using demonic energy. Hundreds of people are present. Zhao Qinquan was gravely wounded. Only the heaven blade talisman in Xu Yun's hands can strike the fatal blow. If I had not given him that talisman, Tianjin would have been lost today. Nearly all the martial arts backbone of the northern defense line would have perished. Jiang Wu rubbed his large bald head, his brows furrowed tightly. News will spread soon. The demon folk have suffered a heavy loss this time. They will never let this go. Should we bring Xu Yun over here? No. Yao Zheng shook his head, his tone resolute. The northern border Great Wall is a battlefield right now. Martial emperors could storm the defenses at any moment. It is far too dangerous. He needs time to grow stronger. Besides, this is the martial arts path he has chosen for himself. All we can do is provide him with the best resources and place our trust in him. Jiang Wu said no more. He picked up his cold tea and drank it all in one gulp. Deep within the abyss, the palace of 10,000 demons. For rifts in the abyss crossed across the vaulted ceiling. Dark, red demonic light poured down through the fissures, illuminating 3 figures of vastly different forms. For stone thrones stood placed at the 4 cardinal directions. Seated rigidly upon the northern throne was Mo Yuan. The Wang clan has been wiped out. That human youth Xu Yun struck down a peak, rank martial saint with one blow. It seems the information I received earlier was false. The bone, spirit possession has failed. On the eastern throne, Qilong clenched his right hand. Intelligence from the human side has arrived. In the Yinqing secret realm, it was also this boy who sealed the rift and severed my right hand. Even now, his right hand had not regenerated. It had been erased on a soul, deep level. His power had fallen from the peak of martial emperor down to the mid-stage of martial emperor. Upon the western throne sat a female demon martial emperor, Wu Zhe. She was the slimmest of the 3 rulers. Her features were hidden beneath the shadow of her hood, revealing only a pale, almost translucent jawline. Xu Yun must die. If we do not kill him now, in 10 years he will become another Qin Zhan. At the mention of the name, Qin Zhan, the air inside the great hall turned cold for an instant. A flicker of unmistakable wariness flashed in Mo Yuan's eyes. A sword, mark appeared in the palm of his hand. Wu Zhe went on. My plan is a martial emperor projection descent. Qilong tilted his chin upward. A martial emperor projection? Do you have any idea how many demonic core origin resources that will consume? Of course I know. Wu Zhe's voice sharpened. If this youth is not eliminated, the abyss will have nowhere to stand 100 years from now. I have laid out my proposal. What happens next rests with the 2 of you. A long silence fell across the hall. The gazes of the 3 demon emperors met in mid-air. Qilong stared down at his right wrist, which throbbed faintly. Venomous resentment churned inside him like magma. He had lost far more than a hand. He had lost an entire realm of cultivation and 100 years of accumulated martial arts foundation. Mo Yuan's pupils flickered as he weighed the pros and cons. After a long while, he slowly spoke. I consent. Qilong remained silent for a very long time. At last, he lifted his right hand. I also consent. Wu Zhe glanced at the other 2. Then who shall go? Mo Yuan's gaze turned sinister. He lifted his head and looked toward the 4 crossing abyss rifts overhead. Dark, Red demonic light spilled over his form like blood. I shall go myself. I will sever Qin Zhan's legacy with my own hands. Chu Yun sat in the back seat of the golden, trimmed SUV, gazing out the tinted privacy window. The forest stretched on endlessly, towering poplars and oak trees interwove. Sunlight filtered down into countless scattered flecks of light that danced across the road. Now and then, a muntjac would peek out from the woods before darting back into the underbrush. He looked away from the window. You said we would arrive soon. Is your definition of soon extremely broad? Seated beside him on the back bench, Zhao Yueli turned her head, her ponytail swaying gently behind her. Once we crossed the Lion River, we entered the outer bounds of the Zhao family's old estate. Chuyan paused for a beat. You mean this entire forest? Yes. An entire national forest park. Private land. Zhao Yueli spoke casually. From Lion River all the way to the southern foot of Tooth Mountain, roughly 6,000 mu belongs exclusively to the Zhao family. I used to get lost inside it as a child. Uncle Kai had to search for me many times. Chuyan leaned back against the seat and fell quiet. Once again, he had vastly underestimated the wealth and influence of a top-tier noble clan. Does your family charge admission for visitors? Zhao Yueli smiled and glanced toward his profile. The Zhao family is far from the largest. The Lu clan's manor in the capital is twice this size. Has Lu Qingxue never brought you there? No, Zhao Yueli drew out a curious-sounding "oh," and did not press the subject further. The vehicle drove onward for another 7 or 8 minutes. The trees on either side gradually thinned out. At the end of the road stood an ornate wrought iron gate. The car passed through it. A French-style manor was built against the mountain, with white stone exterior walls and deep blue sloped roofing. The front lawn was trimmed smooth like a velvet green carpet, with a fountain at its center. The fountain sculpture glowed softly in the sunlight. The golden, trimmed SUV pulled to a steady stop before the fountain. The moment the car door opened, a fluffy creature bounded forward. As soon as Zhao Yueli stepped out, cats gathered around her legs. A plump orange cat rubbed its head against her calf first, its tail held high as it purred loudly. Right after it, a gray and white tabby leaped onto a nearby stone step and meowed upward at her, almost as if complaining about her late return. A third, a fourth. Within moments, 7 or 8 cats emerged from every corner of the garden, swirling in a fluffy circle around her feet. All right, stop crowding. Zhao Yueli knelt down, lifting the orange cat in one arm and stroking the tabby's head with her other hand. The orange cat closed its eyes and snuggled against her chest. A black cat, unwilling to be left out, jumped onto her shoulder and looped its tail around the back of her neck like a soft living scarf. Chu Yun stood a couple of steps away, hands tucked into his pockets, watching the lively scene without making any move to join in. Zhao Yueli glanced upward at him. You don't like cats? They shed fur, need litter boxes, race around the house at midnight and scratch up sofas. Chu Yun replied plainly. Just thinking about all the trouble is enough for me. The only pet he had ever owned was a turtle. He had kept it on his dormitory balcony inside a plastic basin. When he returned after the winter break without arranging anyone to look after it, only an empty shell remained. Since then, he had never considered raising another pet. One of the cats, the gray and white tabby, grew curious about Chu Yun. It circled twice around his feet, its tail tip twitching slightly, as if preparing to brush against his leg. Chu Yun looked down at it. The tabby flattened its ears halfway, its limbs freezing for a split second. Then it silently stepped back, turned, and wandered away. Zhao Yueli frowned lightly. You startled it. It just has low nerve stability. Chu Yun looked away, his tone unchanged. Zhao Yueli fell momentarily speechless. Zhao Qianquan climbed out from the front vehicle. His right shoulder was still wrapped in bandages, yet his complexion had greatly improved since the incident in Tianjin. I shall first return the sacred weapon and report the day's events to our ancestor. Please forgive any shortcomings in our hospitality. Chu Yun gave a slight nod. Take your time, clan leader Zhao. Zhao Qianquan turned toward Zhao Yueli. Yueli, show Chu Yun around the manor grounds. With those words, he departed for the main building together with his steward. Zhao Yueli gestured with her hand. Come on, I'll show you the place where I grew up. She led Chu Yun past the main hall and down a flagstone path deeper inside the estate. Spirit, energy density inside the manor was noticeably higher than outside. The spirit, energy particles hung thick in the air, like soaking in warm medicinal broth. With every breath, energy seeped naturally into his meridians. Ordinary people living here would gain an extra 10 years of lifespan even without practicing cultivation. A natural spirit, energy vein. This is the Zhao family's spirit, energy ley line. Zhao Yueli pointed toward the distant woods as she walked ahead. The entire manor was built right on top of it. Our ancestor constructed a spirit, gathering formation over the ley line. People who cultivate here progress twice as fast as those training outside. They followed the stone trail for several minutes before Zhao Yueli slowed her pace and tilted her head slightly. By the way, how far have things gone between you and Lu Qingxue? Chu Yun kept walking forward. What do you mean? How far have things gone? Rumors are spreading that you are going to marry into the Lu household. Zhao Yueli walked beside him. People say the young lady of the Lu clan recognized your talent, pulled you out of Jiangsheng, and supported you all the way to Kyoto Martial University. I was wondering how much truth there is to all this gossip. Complete nonsense. A faint smile tugged at Chu Yun's mouth. Fake news. All of it. Zhao Yueli turned her head and studied his face for a moment. But you live in her luxury penthouse, and she gifted you 200,000 merit points. Surely those facts are not rumors. That part is true. Chu Yun spoke firmly. But there is no marriage into the family arrangement whatsoever. Zhao Yueli dropped the subject of Lu Qingxue, her tone softening. Then, would you ever consider me? Chu Yun's footsteps finally halted. Zhao Yueli stood before him, her hands clasped behind her back, tapping her toes lightly against the flagstone. I could bring the entire Zhao clan as my dowry. In the future, the Zhao family could take your surname, Chu. We have not even exchanged our chat application contacts yet. Chu Yun let out a short laugh. How can you joke about something this serious? Are you even authorized to make such a decision? When a daughter wants something, a daughter gets it. Zhao Yueli lifted her chin, a glint shining in her eyes. That is a saying my father often repeats. Nice talk. Chu Yun shook his head as he resumed walking. You are far too impulsive for your father's liking. Zhao Yueli hurried to catch up with him. How can you judge without giving me a chance? I am young and healthy. I can stand firmly on my own without relying on anyone. Chu Yun kept his hands in his pockets, walking at an unhurried pace. Zhao Yueli blinked, processing his gentle rejection. After a short pause, her smile did not fade. But what if cold weather comes one day? Are you wishing misfortune upon me? I am simply keeping an opportunity open for myself. Chu Yun glanced over at her. Zhao Yueli met his gaze openly without the slightest hint of embarrassment. He looked away and chose not to reply. They crossed the garden until a pale, gray stone wall blocked their path. Wisteria vines climbed all over the wall, their hanging flower clusters swaying softly in the breeze. The steward came quickly toward them from the main building, moving with steady strides. He stopped 3 meters away from Chu Yun and bowed slightly. Young Master Chu Yun, the ancestor requests your presence. Surprise flickered across Zhao Yueli's face. Their ancestor almost never summoned outsiders. Chu Yun nodded and turned toward her. I will head over now. All right. Zhao Yueli stood still and watched him walk away with the steward. Only once his figure vanished completely from sight did she lower her gaze. Since when have I ever said, when a daughter wants something, a daughter gets it? Zhao Qingquan appeared behind her, now dressed in clean dark, blue traditional robes. Zhao Yueli did not turn around. Haven't you said exactly that? Zhao Qingquan was momentarily lost for words. After 2 seconds of silence he sighed. Yueli, Chu Yun is destined for greater things. You may not be able to keep up with his path. A faint smile curved Zhao Yueli's lips. Father, you do not understand. The ancestor waits inside. Please go in, young Master Chu Yun. The steward pushed open the carved iron garden gate and gestured for Chu Yun to enter, then quietly stepped back 3 paces and waited outside. Chu Yun nodded and walked alone into the enclosed garden. He surveyed the courtyard. It felt less like a formal garden and more like a wild, well-tended playground. Crooked wooden stakes stuck out of the lawn, their surfaces covered in deep scratch marks. A faded fabric mouse toy, its tail half chewed off, hung from a wutong tree in the center of the yard. Several tangled red and green yarn balls lay on the grass beneath the tree. An orange cat was resting in the shade. It yawned widely. You have arrived. A voice came out of the orange cat's mouth, warm and lazy, like a spring afternoon just after waking. Are you the Zhao family ancestor? Chu Yun studied the orange cat carefully. His honored soul, level spiritual power spread outward. The creature's life force fluctuation was extremely faint, barely detectable. I am. The orange cat nodded, its tail tip twitching. More accurately, I am the figure the Zhao family presents to the world as their ancestor. They are sensible enough to bring me fish snacks regularly and shield me from many troubles. Chu Yun's expression turned slightly serious. The Tingjun sword on his wrist trembled, ready to be drawn at any moment. Are you some kind of abyss demon beast in disguise? In Chu Yun's mind, every living creature capable of human speech, apart from actual humans, fell under the category of abyss monster. Vermin from the dark abyss dare not compare themselves to me. The orange cat let out a small scoff and rose slowly to its paws. A majestic aura, like that of a supreme beast, king, radiated from its posture. I am the divine beast of the Holy Spirit clan, Mingjiuchan. I come from the 6-star region of Qianwu Galaxy. Chu Yun had never heard of the Holy Spirit clan, Qianwu Galaxy, or the 6-star region. The world turned out far vaster than he had imagined. The Holy Spirit clan. This is my first time hearing that name. Mingjiuchan licked one of its front paws. You have never traveled beyond Blue Star. It is only natural you know nothing. So you are an extraterrestrial being that took the form of a cat. Chu Yun said calmly. Mingjiuchan's ears shot straight upward. You may describe it that way. But if you use that casual nickname for me again, I will scratch you. Chu Yun decided not to dwell on that topic. How did you end up becoming the Zhao family ancestor? Mingjiuchan tapped its tail tip lightly against the ground as it organized its thoughts. 500 years ago, I activated an inter-star teleportation formation. My original destination was another galaxy rich in spirit, energy. But the formation malfunctioned, hurling me to this planet. Spatial turbulence nearly tore my soul apart. Most of my physical body was destroyed. I barely survived inside this feline form. For decades I wandered, unable to find a way home. Eventually, I discovered this spirit, energy line, and planned to use the place as temporary shelter. Not long afterwards, the first ancestors of the Zhao clan settled here. I aided them in prospering and defending against enemies. And in return, they honored me as their ancestor and have offered offerings to me ever since. Chu Yun remained silent for several seconds, absorbing this story. He spoke slowly. You did not summon me here simply to tell me your life story, did you? Indeed, I have a favor to ask you. I have learned you have reached the realm of laws. Even within the Qianwu Galaxy, reaching the realm of laws at 18 years old is extremely rare. Mingjiuchan produced a fist-sized fuzzy ball from nowhere. Fine soft fur covered its surface. This is a wind soul orb. It contains a fragment of the wind law. It can help you comprehend the wind law and save you 10 years of hard cultivation. There is only one condition. Help me locate the teleportation formation that will carry me back to the Qianwu Galaxy. Chu Yun's honored soul perception sensed the extremely pure law energy flowing over the wind soul orb, sharp, light, like wind swirling around his fingertips. There was no doubt it held a fragment of the wind law. Still, he did not reach out to take it immediately. I have never heard of such a teleportation formation before. Blue Star is enormous. I cannot search aimlessly across the whole planet. Do you have any clues? Mingjiuchan nodded, its tone growing serious. I read ancient records from the Qianwu Galaxy. The texts mention an interstellar teleportation formation hidden somewhere on Blue Star, deep inside the Songming ruins, which lie within the Kunlun Void. I have searched the Kunlun mountain range for over 100 years without discovering even a single stone fragment from those ruins. My power has diminished too greatly for me to sense their location. That is why I hope you will join me and help find the Songming ruins. Songming's secret realm, Kunlun Void. Several scattered pieces of information in Chu Yun's mind suddenly connected. He had met Lu Fengxian, the Abyss Matriarch, at the Kanglan Water Mansion. That woman had sealed herself inside an independent dimension guarding an abyss rift for 20,000 years. Before they parted, she had given him a jade talisman, which merged with another green jade token and evolved into the Songming Jade Talisman. One of its abilities was to vibrate automatically whenever it neared the entrance to the Songming ruins. He had planned to research the ruins after enrolling at Kyoto Martial University. He never expected to receive this lead from an extraterrestrial beast. Lu Fengxian's sealed rift was located on the highest peak of the Kunlun Mountains. If that mountain held the entrance to the Songming ruins, why had the Jade Talisman never reacted? Could it be the entrance would only unlock once the Abyss Rift returned to the summit of Kunlun? Everything began to fall into place. Chu Yun retrieved the Songming Jade Talisman from his system storage, held it in his palm, and extended it toward the orange cat. Do you recognize this? Mingjiuchan's pupils widened sharply. Its golden vertical irises reflected the dark patterns flowing across the talisman's surface, as though something long, asleep, was waking up. Where did you get this? Chu Yun pulled the jade talisman back. First tell me whether you recognize it. The orange cat ancestor stared at the spot where the talisman had been, remaining quiet for several heartbeats. I recognize it. It is the key that unlocks the Songming secret realm, the Songming Jade Talisman. Chu Yun's eyes narrowed. Even Lu Fengxian had failed to identify that Songming Jade Talisman. Yet this orange cat creature knew its true nature. Its story about being an extraterrestrial visitor appeared genuine. This situation had grown far more interesting. What else is hidden inside the ruins besides the teleportation formation? I do not know. Ming Jiuchan shook its head. No detailed descriptions survive in the ancient texts. The records only state that the Songming ruins are the remains of an inter-star teleportation base built 60 million years ago during the Great God-Demon War. The God-Demon War? Chu Yin repeated the phrase. Yes, Ming Jiuchan explained. I know very little about that conflict. Records say 60 million years ago, war erupted across countless star systems in the Phoenix constellation galaxy group. Two great factions fought each other, the heavenly, pivot divine race, and the void, abyss, undead. Both sides wielded enough destructive force to obliterate entire galaxies. Their battles snuffed out stars and shattered planets. Ming Jiuchan pressed one paw down on top of the wind soul orb. At the height of the conflict, they drained the life spirit, energy from hundreds of millions of nearby galaxies to power world, ending grand formations. The final aftermath of that war was later observed by blue star astronomers. They named it the Karpa's Void, the largest empty expanse in the known universe, stretching more than 2 billion light years across. Chu Yun was stunned by the thought of stars being destroyed in combat. Could genuine gods truly exist? He reserved judgment and asked, what happened to Blue Star during that war? Blue Star? Ming Jiuchan let out a scornful chuckle. Back then, it was nothing more than an insignificant supply outpost on the far edge of the battlefield. Its resources were meager and spirit, energy levels extremely thin. Perhaps its remoteness and apparent lack of value is exactly why it survived. Miraculously survived the aftermath of the God-Demon Great War. It paused, then shifted its tone. But those good days are long gone. From my 500-year-long observations, over 99% of Blue Planet's spiritual energy resources were drained during that war. Only the Abyss demons still have any interest in this place. After all, those creatures will devour anything. They are not picky eaters. The corners of Chu Yun's mouth twitched. Are you being respectful when you talk about my home planet like that? I am merely stating facts. Ming Jiuchan tilted its head and looked at him. Take this spirit gathering formation of the Zhao clan, for example. Its spiritual energy density ranks among the top 10 on Blue Planet. But if you placed it back in the Qianwu galaxy, it would be no better than a roadside public restroom. That means your mental power cultivation will hit a hard ceiling once you reach the honored thought rank. It is not that you lack talent. Blue Planet no longer possesses enough source mental energy to fuel your further breakthroughs. Chu Yun's brows stirred slightly. He had already optimized his prison-suppressing meditation technique once, boosting its absorption efficiency by 300%. Yet no matter how high the absorption rate was, there was only so much water left in the pool. Once drained, it was gone for good. It was like a high-performance water pump, completely useless when lowered into a dry well. No wonder no thought emperor had ever appeared in the Dragon Nation's martial arts history. It was never a problem of insufficient talent. Blue Planet simply lacked the required resources. Looking at it this way, Lu Fengxian's title of the greatest thought saint of all time carried even greater weight. And those 3 void, blaze firestones were priceless beyond measure. Does that mean my cultivation progress will grind to a halt? Most likely, Ming Jiuchan replied calmly. Your physical vitality can still improve further, all the way to Martial Saint and Martial Emperor. Blue Planet's spiritual energy can just barely support that, though your advancement speed will keep slowing down. But as for your mental power, it shook its head. Chu Yun fell silent for 2 seconds before smoothly changing his expression. The heavy look in his eyes vanished at once, replaced by a well-timed smile. Then, Senior, do you happen to have any items that can replenish the source of mental energy? Chu Yun resorted to his old trick again. Ming Jiuchan's golden vertical pupils narrowed slightly. Now you start calling me Senior? Where was that respect earlier? Chu Yun's expression did not shift in the slightest. If Senior enjoys hearing it, I can call you that every single day. Senior, Senior, Senior. Enough, enough, stop it. Ming Jiuchan's tail fluffed out. My ears are tingling. Chu Yun grinned. I have called you so many times. Won't Senior offer me something in return? Ming Jiuchan stared at him for 2 seconds, reassessing exactly how shameless this human could be. Even if I possessed such treasures, why would I give them to you? I would have used them long ago to repair my own divine soul. Chu Yun spread his hands. Very well. Then Senior owes me a favor for now. Ming Jiuchan. You really have no sense of shame. Why should I care about saving face? Chuyin scoffed. I may be handsome, but I still have to pay for every meal I eat. Ming Juchan. The cat, like being nearly laughed out of sheer exasperation. Still, it held back and spoke slowly. Very well, let us return to the main topic. Since you possess the Dark Nether Jade Talisman, you ought to know where the Dark Nether ruins are located. Ming Jiuchan tossed the Gale sphere toward him. Chuyin caught it with his raised hand. The moment his fingertips brushed its fine, fuzzy surface, a light, yet sharp aura of law seeped through his palm and into his meridians. There was no mistaking it, a fragment of the Wind Law. He stored the Gale sphere inside his system space. He then briefly recounted everything he knew about Lu Fengxian, the Dark Nether ruins, and the summit of Kunlun. Finally, he shared his own speculation. Back then, she tore the abyss rift away from the summit of Kunlun and brought it into a mental dimension she created herself. My guess is, the entrance to the Dark Nether ruins lies hidden within that dimension. Or alternatively, the entrance will only reopen once the abyss rift is returned to the summit of Kunlun. Ming Jiuchan stopped swishing its tail. Its golden vertical pupils locked onto Chu Yun, weighing every single word he had spoken. No wonder I could never locate the entrance. Someone hid it away. These are only my conjectures, Chu Yun said evenly. We can verify nothing until the abyss rift returns to the summit of Kunlun. She has held it sealed for 20,000 years, Ming Jiuchan remarked. That is correct. The last time you saw her, the seal was already beginning to weaken. Exactly. How much longer do you think she can hold on? Chu Yun did not answer immediately. He pictured the woman in her aqua-green dress, her peach blossom eyes heavy with exhaustion, and the sudden pallor that had washed over her face while suppressing the abyss rift. In that state, her mental dimension could collapse at any moment. Yet then again, that reckless woman was a thought saint, the greatest thought saint in recorded history. No one could tell how much longer she might endure. I do not know. Ming Jiuchan lifted its head and gazed up at the blue sky. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the parasol, tree leaves, casting flecks of golden light across its orange fur. I have waited for 500 years. I have waited long enough. It turned to face Chu Yun. Do you have a way to find her? Chu Yun refused to be swept up by its mood. Shoving both hands into his pockets, he spoke in a calm tone. Even if we find Lu Fengxian, can you contain the abyss rift? Silence hung in the air for a heartbeat. Ming Jiuchan's tail stiffened for a moment before slowly drooping. In its current condition, it truly lacked the power to reseal a saint-level abyss rift. When the abyss rift resurfaces, people from the Dragon Nation will step in to deal with it. Why not wait for them to finish handling it, then head over ourselves? Chu Yun nodded. That is a sensible plan. So all we need to do is wait. Ming Jiuchan flattened its ears backward. Have we circled right back to where we started? We have not returned to the starting point. You overlooked several critical problems. Chu Yun wagged a finger. Even if we locate the entrance, this ancient ruin dates back 60 million years. Anyone who enters without sufficient strength will simply be walking to their deaths. A low, faint rumble vibrated in Ming Jiuchan's throat, as though it had been left lost for words. That is indeed a valid concern. I failed to consider that just now. You are only a martial honored. You would stand at least some chance once you reach Martial Saint. The ruin may well contain restrictive barriers, powerful guardians, or chaotic spatial currents. A martial honored would not even have time to react before being wiped out. It paused, then lifted the tip of its tail again. Then you shall cultivate right here. The Zhao clan will supply you with whatever resources you require. Do not leave seclusion until you break through to Martial Saint. Chu Yun nodded. That had been his original intention all along. The Martial Emperor, Great Abyss Core, Wang Tianda's Demon Core, the Gale Sphere, plus all the resources the Zhao clan possessed, would be more than enough to push his cultivation to the next level in a short time. Now that the search for the Dark Nether ruins had entered the picture, however, Martial Saint might not prove strong enough. Ideally, he would break through all the way to Martial Emperor. Chu Yun pushed the door open and stepped outside. The steward, who had been waiting for him, led him toward the main building of the manor.